Anime is a vast and varied medium, and if you're not already familiar, it can be daunting to find something you might be interested in watching. This is a podcast where three average anime enjoyers introduce their uninitiated co-host to their favorite anime touchstones, so he can join them deep in the Weebs. This week, we watched Spy Family, not to be confused with the British live-action family comedy series My Spy Family. The Spy Family manga is written and illustrated by Tatsuya Endo, and began serialization in 2019. It was licensed in North America by Viz Media. The first season of the anime adaptation premiered in two halves in 2022, and a second season is set to premiere in October of this year. A film is also set to release this December. In order to maintain the state of peace between two nations that bear strong similarity to Cold War-era divided Germany, an accomplished agent, codenamed Twilight, is tasked with spying on the leader of the rival nation's National Unity Party. However, due to the target's notorious reclusive nature, the only way to get close to him is to enroll a child at the same school as his sons, and to pose as a fellow parent. To accomplish this, Agent Twilight creates the alias of Lloyd Forger, adopts a young orphan girl named Anya, and marries a young woman named Yor Breyer. However, unbeknownst to him, Anya is telepathic, and Yor is a professional assassin. They also later adopt a dog with precognitive abilities. Despite unknown factors and Twilight's difficulty with common sense after years of being a spy, he must learn to play the role of the perfect father and husband in order to carry out his mission. Endo's longtime editor, Shihei Lin, has said that he and Endo are always conscious of the line where violence, a necessary aspect in a spy manga, is given a pass for comedy's sake. Spy Family is currently one of the best-selling manga series, and has been praised for its storytelling, comedy, and artwork. This week, we watched 4 episodes. Episodes 1, 2, 13, and 15.
I'm going to start off by saying I'm partly to blame for it being the best selling because boy, howdy, have I bought into that.
I do believe you're the one who picked the episodes, aren't you?
I is. This was one of my contributions to this season.
I did want to ask off the bat, you had us watch 13 and 15, which is the first and third parts of a 3-part arc.
So, okay, to get that, because I knew that was going to come up. I actually expected that more from Joe. I don't know why. Partly because if I ended on... I felt like 13 had to be there because it kind of set up the drama aspect of this comedy show. And if I went with 14, it ends with Lloyd pointing a gun at the dog. And I'm like, that's kind of a bad note to go out on.
Fair.
And I'm like, I feel like we need to show just how good Lloyd is. Like, don't get me wrong, there's a bit in spoilers for episode 14. There's a bit Lloyd disguises himself as a dignitary who's got a hit out on him by some domestic terrorists. And the dignitary is a very old man. So when the lead terrorist and this Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator German Shepherd that is designed to be so good of a boy that he lets the bomb strapped to him go off, chases him down. He's pulling all kinds of car maneuvers that no man of this dignitary's age and disposition should be able to pull off, and then vaulting and jumping on rails and iron gates and so forth, and it's hilarious. But I also feel like choosing an episode ends with, and then he looks like he's going to kill the dog. Just leaves a bad taste.
Makes sense.
And now we end with a happy family with a dog, so...
Oh my god, that dog.
Yes. Dogford Brimley needed to be shown in all of his glory.
Alright, well, we'll get to the dog, but let's start with episode 1. Operation Strix.
So, I just love how this starts. this, Bob, before I just go on a rage, go for it. Go on.
All right. Sorry. It opens up with us being introduced to, kind of a take going out to retrieve film for one of the dignitaries. I forget if it's Eastland or Westland, and I refuse to believe that they have actual fancy names.
No, that's basically what they translate to, so.
And the I wouldn't say, we don't know that it's a secret agent at the moment, but the guy who retrieves the film gives it to who you assume is, I won't say the bad president, but the president you're not rooting for. To say here, this protects, or this is proof that the other president is wearing a toupee.
Hey, Bob, let me stop you. It's not a president. He's kind of like underground connections. I don't want to touch on real world politics too much, but maybe a little bit of a conservative extremist. And you left out the banger beginning of before we meet him, what happens to someone driving.
Racking my brain. After
So
you.
the comedy, this delightful comedy, starts off with the assassination of another dignitary. His brake line was cut, so he and his driver went over the edge of a highway.
Oh, that's right. With Big Boom.
Yes, this cute family comedy starts off with death.
Mm-hmm.
I'll bring that up later. So what's confusing to me, and they try to explain it later, is how it matters that there's pictures of a dignitary with a toupee. And they explain it later on that it's because as a dignitary, he should have real hair. And it's all about appearances and dealing with leading a country, which, yes.
It's actually more about like honesty.
Yeah, I think they were trying to say the point that it's just like, yeah, if you're wearing a toupee, you're basically lying to your people, and how can you trust somebody who lies?
Yeah. How can you trust anyone that wears a toupee?
Or uses an anime avatar on Twitter.
Anyway. So the guy drives off with the crime guy being like, haha, this worked out. And then the actual guy drives up saying, did you retrieve that film for me? At which point we cue to a now we know fake driver who takes his mask off, and it's Twilight. And we finally meet him. We fast forward a little bit to he's having supper with his girlfriend at the time, which we find out he's just using her to get close to her dad, who happens to be the president with a toupee.
Bob, tell me you remember what the girlfriend's name was.
Let
me help.
Arlene?
She really is a total
banger.
Name.
What?
Karen.
It's a name, 5 letters long, starts with a very hard k sound.
Is her name really Karen?
Yes.
That's because he wants to break up with her. He's at the end of his mission because he succeeded in getting the film. So he just straight up
He just like immediately drops his persona and he's like, okay, we're done now.
Mm-hmm.
After she is watching someone propose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love how he does it too, so matter of factly. You're unintelligent, you're dull, you're boring, you're dim-witted. I'm out.
Peace.
And as he leaves, he throws his getup and everything into a flame that happens to be conveniently nearby, like any good spy, because it's time to switch roles. He's no longer, I forget what his old name was, but now he is switching back to Twilight until he gets his next mission, which he gets pretty quickly, because he sits down next to this guy and switches newspapers and hears the code word so he knows what it is to crack it. And he starts reading through the newspaper while on the train about how there's this, he's another role in the diplomacy side of...
You want me to help you?
Yes.
So
are they part of Westland or Eastland? Are we cheering for
Okay.
Westland or Eastland?
We're cheering for peace, Bob.
Yeah.
So short version is they are in Ostania,
Okay.
which is clearly not an analog for East Germany. And he is part of the spy agency that now just slipped my mind. Wise. No, it's Wise. And they are from Westalis.
Sure.
So yes, East and Westland, which is clearly not West Germany. Yet their choice of this political leader, who, if you look at his facial Hitler, whoops, yeah, he's Hitler. Essentially, the vibe I get is that this guy is like Hitler.
He just looks like he is very, very sick with those dark eyes. I felt really bad for him.
He looks exactly like Vincenzo Santorini from Atlantis, The Lost Empire.
Yes.
Oh my
that's who it
goodness! Now I
is.
can see it.
Right.
Insert picture on video here.
And I know who you're talking about.
He's the guy who likes blowing stuff up.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, if he
Yeah.
asks for dynamite, don't give it to him.
Uh-huh.
I do want to mention, just while we're talking about while he's on the train, I'm sort of a dumbo, so it took me until the moment he's getting onto the train station, we just see the sign for Berlin.
Lint.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I love it because that one word posted on screen actually caught me up to everything about the setting. It's just like Berlin, alternate universe, Cold War. Got it. I'm there.
Yeah.
I completely understand now. And like the efficiency of like this show's going to do this a bunch, especially in this first episode or two. Just about like speed running premise.
What you need to know.
Yeah, just like, hey,
They catch you up.
I'm going to actually touch on that.
okay, but just like they do it so quickly and efficiently in a way that I bet you can guess I really appreciate it.
I bet you would, because we're watching that. I saw that, and that's part of the reason I wanted to touch on that. But I'll save that for when we get back to normal.
Okay, but yeah, just Berlin. I just laughed my ass off because I was just like, "Wow, you just put it there and you did it so well." I wanted to applaud at Berlin.
He reads through the newspaper, getting his new message, which I appreciate the way they kind of showed the letters floating on the paper for him. Getting this message that he needs to infiltrate, find information because he needs to get a wife and he needs to have a kid because this kid needs to go to the school to share time with the other guy's kid, and they have parties because he never really goes out otherwise. And this mission needs to be completed in, I believe it's 10 days?
Well, no, he needs to have a family in a week.
Yeah,
In
the
7
deadline
days.
for application to the school is soon.
And it's really easy to find a fiance, find a woman, get engaged, get married, and pump out a kid in 7 days.
In fact, that's a spit take that he has. I'm supposed to have a kid in 7 days, which disturbs everyone on the train, but it's understandable. And he's quick to say, "I'm so sorry."
I loved his reaction. Like this feels like I could believe any actual spy being put up with this and not getting any resources to support it in those departments would absolutely have that reaction.
So he takes his first step. He's going to an apartment where the realtor is saying this is a lovely apartment and goes through all the listings like bedroom, bathroom, and so forth, while Twilight is going through everywhere, making sure that there is no spy traps, no listening devices, and everything. Doing his piece. I don't know why he's doing it in front of the realtor, but that's fine. And ends up signing and getting the apartment under the name Lloyd Folger.
Coffee magnate.
Actually,
Yes.
I would like to touch on that real quick. Because
so
let me touch on that real quickly, if I may, Bob.
What?
Regarding the name, we're gonna go back in time because we've mentioned, I think, on the podcast once or twice, Beej's Anime Roundup. If you haven't seen the audience, go watch it. Loading Ready Run's great. But it was during one of Beej's anime roundups where right before Spy Family was coming out, and he was talking about what he was going to watch that season. And he mentioned, and I don't know if it was just the scanlations or the original translation of the manga, but originally the name was Lloyd Folger, a really believable average name. And later they changed it to, and I don't know if it was for the anime or because the anime was coming out, they changed it to Lloyd Forger.
That's
Sure.
definitely a translation
I'm sure it had to be.
thing. LR translations are often like that. Like it can usually go either way.
And there's a part of me that would still have loved, I mean, still love this series. You know, spoiler, I like the show.
Mhm.
I think it would have been great or possibly better if they just left it as Folger, just to give it that more innocuous name instead of really kind of hitting it on the nose.
Oh, I don't know. So much of this show is
Ah.
about hitting it on the nose in such a tongue-in-cheek
Yeah.
way. I think it fits
I mean-
perfectly.
Like honestly, from what I had known about this show beforehand, like I thought it was way more serious, and finding out that they were going with like this setup to create comedic situations to play with, like that was a delight. And
I guess-
having their last name be Forger is just ridiculous enough to really suit that vibe.
I guess for me, it's like I feel like he in the universe chose the name. Ah, yes, this will be my name, Forger, or the agency chose your name is Forger. I feel like at least on their part, they should be taking it seriously to some degree, and that's why I like Folger, sure, because this shouldn't be happening to such an average guy. And I guess that's where it comes in, because for me, that would sell.
Maybe have a joke where like the person like mishears them or something.
Mm.
And yeah, like in my head, jokes like that could have been strewn throughout and just kind of to serve to kind of undermine Lloyd's seriousness. Because let's be honest, he is the straight man of the show.
That's actually like my understanding of the show, little that I knew coming in, was almost the other way. Like I heard that this was like, oh, a comedy and it's got this super complex premise, and I thought it was just going to be like Waka Waka, very trying hard to, you know, it's like, oh, this is the joke, isn't it so funny? Because I find that a lot of anime comedy actually does go that hard, or sort of go in that direction. Like comedy is hard in the first place, and especially when you've seen people try to adapt comedy manga into anime, I've very, very many opinions about that. But I was actually really, you know, what you were just saying, like the way that they're actually handling the comedy is that, and they're like not afraid to, like, you know, again, sort of like tongue-in-cheek point this out. Like as far as he is concerned, Twilight is a James Bond character. Like he is in a spy thriller show, movie, genre, whatever. But it's almost like the Marx Brothers take on comedy, where it's just like, no, like in this universe, the reality around him is constantly giving him curveballs, and he's trying to keep the straight face. And it's just like, it is such a more like subtle and like well woven sense of comedy than we usually get in anime. I was like relieved when, you know, there are like some real moments, and like there was never like a Waka Waka moment, you know. I never felt a Waka Waka moment.
You can't see the grin on my face, because that's exactly how I felt. And those were all of my concerns when I heard about this show. Like, oh, this is going to be trope. This is gonna be bad. And it's so good. And you something I haven't been able to hit the nail on the head, but you did. It's like, this is absolutely a Marx Brothers style,
Yeah.
whether intended or otherwise. And I love that. And to your point, I will even say, a lot of people always associate Bond to the character. I'm like, this feels more like maybe Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Okay.
Oh yeah, this setting definitely makes me think that way.
Or Maxwell Smart, I suppose.
Yeah. It's like, what if Maxwell Smart, but actually, going into this not being the comic relief?
Yeah,
I don't think Maxwell Smart ever did.
He was very serious about his job.
He was, but I mean, like, the character itself was not.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, Lloyd.
There wasn't the. Go ahead.
Lloyd had
Or
like
out of his
a serious competency to him that, like, if it wasn't for the other characters in the show and it was just, Twilight, this would be a straight spy show.
Agreed.
Mhm. But anyway, and to your point, I think the biggest and best tongue in cheek is the Spy Wars show because the main character's name is Bondman.
Mm-hmm. It's just like they're not hiding what they are, like, straight up. They are pointing at the thing that they are parodying and say, like, look, we know it too. Look what we're doing. And that's like the most, like, but at the same time, like, not just putting James Bond there, but like working it in, using the names, when we get to Anya in a minute, her like code name at the experiment facility was number 007. Like, come on.
Let me tell you, the first time I watched it, I missed it until I went back and rewatched it in the dub. I'm like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm. Actually, that's a great segue. Real quick here, as we're learning the name Twilight is going to be using going forward. Show of hands, who watched the dub and who watched the sub?
Dub.
Sub.
Yes.
All right.
I will admit, I watched this. Joe, you remember when I first pitched this idea of the podcast to you?
Mm-hmm.
This was airing at that time, and I was watching it week to week in the sub. And then when the dub came out, I'm like, well, I have to see what they do here. I need it to be good.
I watched it in Japanese up until one point when I rewatched part of an episode in English just because I wanted to check something.
I hope it's the part that I think it is.
Yeah, I need you to tell me what part, because there's one. I'm glad you watched it in the sub. I need to know you watched it in the sub for that one part.
If it's something we watched, we could wait till we're there.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait till we're there.
Yeah, we plan to.
But just like, so I watched the dub, which I thought was pretty good, with subtitles on, just because, I don't know, accessibility is good. I love the little, like, there's a certain disrespect that the subtitles give Twilight, because he's like, all right, from this point going forward, I will be working under the code name Lloyd Forger, and the subtitles forever call him Twilight. They disrespect the name Lloyd, and like, I kind of love it. It's like, subtitles, you're blowing my cover, man. Come on.
I love because there are, like I said, there's the one I'm hoping Joe watched, but I realized there's a second one. I'm like, maybe that's the one Joe's referring to. But the difference between the sub and the dub in the latter one really matters to me.
Interesting. All right, I can't wait to get there.
But it's just funnier.
So I think that takes us up to the orphanage.
Yes,
Yeah.
and yes.
I was just agreeing.
Good. Thank you for agreeing. So we get to the orphanage because part of his job is he needs children, or at least a singular child, for which he finds the seediest orphanage with a guy who really doesn't care about anything. In fact, all Twilight has to say is, I want a child, and he says, which one? No, he even opens up. Which child do you want?
Okay, so this is actually, to some extent, I'm sure it's happened before, but is also being played up for comedic effect. But this is kind of a common thing in this era, is having orphanages, especially when there's a war on and you have a lot of orphans. People calling themselves an orphanage to get like the money from the government or whatever, and then just like not using the money for the children in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, that couldn't possibly happen in real life.
No.
Okay, sad story, sad.
Yes, Anya has a sad story. Everyone has a sad story.
And her sad story is that she is telepathic. She was experimented on, as previously mentioned. She is Project 007, which for me, I actually didn't think about the 007 until much later. It was more the fact of, you mean there are 6 more experiments before her?
Oh.
So she is able to read minds, although she doesn't do it in her backstory, which I find rather weird. They just tell her that she doesn't have time to play. She needs to keep working on her telepathy because she is a tool for world peace.
And to her
upon
credit, she takes that seriously.
Upon first watching, I took that as, oh, they're positive. She's going to be happy. But thinking about it now, that could be in a negative as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your world peace is not my world peace necessarily.
Yeah.
And we also don't understand how she got to the orphanage. I don't know that we ever really realized in the 4 episodes we watched. I'm sure it's explained in a different point. But right now, she's in an orphanage. And Twilight had asked for the smartest kid. Or no, he didn't ask for the smartest. He asked for one that can read and write.
And is about 6 years old.
Yep. Because he needed someone who is capable of taking the entrance exam to the school. The orphanage owner is like, here's Anya. He's the brightest one, and because Anya can read his mind, it's because he also or she creeps him out.
You wanna tell us how she creeps him out, or
Well,
creeps out
because
Lloyd?
creeps out who?
Lloyd.
Oh yes, with Twilight, she's reading his mind to know what he's looking for. He's looking for someone who's 6, which she quickly says that she's 6, because she seems so short, and she starts standing on her tippy toes to be able to look a little bit taller. And then he sees a crossword puzzle that she is working on, and he says, oh, that's far too hard for her, because answer number 1 is this, and 2 is this, and because she can read his mind, he gets all of the answers correct, which impresses him.
Isn't there a line from him there of just like, oh, well, for someone like me, this is child's play, but clearly this is too hard for an actual child. And then he just starts solving it and like, oh, I feel like I know those kind of guys who are just like, this is so easy. Watch, I'll start solving it in my head. A, B, C.
Oh, I do the same thing. I catch myself looking at something. Oh, I know that one. Blah, blah, blah. So he ends up adopting her, and as they're standing outside the orphanage, he's like, all right, but when people ask, you've been my daughter all along, and I need you to call me father, which she never calls him father, to my knowledge. She only calls him Papa. Titi? Is that...
Chi-Chi. Yeah, it's like Chi-Chi, like Goku's wife from Dragon Ball. Yeah, it's just like the kitty version of Daddy or Papa. Yeah.
Yep. To which he says, that works. Honestly, that's the first point where I really love Twilight. He just is so witty when he wants to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to that. Because he takes her to the house where they run into a neighbor, and the neighbor's like, oh, what a nice kid. And Anya's like, oh, this is my father. He's been my father all along. And Twilight's like, you don't have to say that every time. They go into the apartment so he can show her around. She's excited for everything, including a TV, which happens to show her favorite show, a spy show. And they're super spies. They have their weapons, including a gun with a silencer, a pistol with a silencer. That's all she wants. They go shopping, and she's asking for a pistol with a silencer.
As any respectable child would.
Oh,
and
God.
he responds with, only if it's on sale.
As any respectable parent should.
There's nothing I want in the world for her more than for her to get her dream of having a pistol. I feel like that changes the whole tone of the show, but for the better.
I mean,
she acts
simple dangers of that in this episode.
She acts her age, which I believe is around 5, isn't it?
Yeah, she's actually like 4 or 5-ish.
By crying when she doesn't get her way and so forth. He ends up buying her peanuts because that's her favorite. And he stops by the library to buy, I think, 100 books on parenting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he has some real, what's the word I want to say? Real errant thoughts on dealing with children and how he should deal with her that kind of set her off during their trip.
Well, yeah, because it totally makes sense too. Like, she's already had some traumatic experiences of being sent back to the orphanage, so she's very aware of like tailoring herself to be someone who he's going to want to keep.
But also, she's a 4-year-old with telepathy, and it ain't easy to be normal when you're like that.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what I was going to touch on. It's like, she's reasonably upset by this, because imagine if you could have read your parents' mind without any kind of nuance or understanding other than that of like a 4 or 5-year-old.
But does she know her
When you're-
parents?
I'm your parent.
Oh.
Your parents, literally your parents. Like when you were growing up, when you were not being the most easy to deal with because you don't know how to communicate because you're a 4 or 5-year-old. And then imagine in that moment you read your parents' mind of what they're thinking. I think her reactions are completely understandable, and they do a great job of depicting her as responding believably.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
one thing that I really liked, is that they kept her very much a child.
Exactly. At no point was she older. She did everything she could to be who she was.
Yeah, she wasn't malicious beyond her years or spiteful because of it, like you would expect from maybe someone older in age.
She is literally a child with telepathy.
There's something about the way that she gets written there where, like, she definitely knows how to use her telepathy to punch above her weight. Like, we're going to see it in episodes. Like, she definitely uses it to, like, play tricks on people and to, like, know how to read a room and, like, understand, like, recognize threats and stuff around her.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is like survival things that, like, even without telepathy, kids will pick up on reading, like, body language and stuff.
Yeah.
When they've been in situations like this. So yeah, it's...
But like, she's still written that she has the aspirations of a 5-year-old. So it's just like, I'm going to use my secret powers to get a really cool pet dog. That is what I'm going to use my telepathy for. That is my big dream that I'm going to make happen. I'm just like, that's great. That is such like a fine line of character believability, especially when you bring like supernatural powers into it. And I actually think they do a really good job with her.
And she also
100%.
processes and understands things in a very simplistic, childish way, which
And
is
I love
really
how
good.
she mispronounces words.
Oh
Because
yeah,
that's what a
I
child would
love
do at
that.
that age.
And the subtitles put it in, and I loved it.
So they go back to that apartment, and while reading his books, Twilight has a little bit more understanding. Whether it works out or not remains to be seen. He has Anya study for the test because he just needs her to copy the answers, and she's really not going for it. And he ends up going out. I forget the exact reason why. He needs to leave. I think it's to meet up with the other newspaper informant. Ricky?
Frankie.
Yeah, that's his brother. Anyway, so he's going out. He tells Anya she has to stay there, and then she gets excited because it turns into a game of hide and seek, which Twilight finds her every single time, and in fact just locks her in the house with a barricade in front of the door.
As a reasonable parent should.
A responsible parent, even.
Yes. This is where we are introduced to Frankie. He is yet another spy. I think they explained that a lot of this world, this alternate world, has a lot of spies in it, so it's not too much of a stretch.
Something Cold War era.
Yeah.
Frankie has information that Anya has been returned 4 times, I believe.
Yep.
And there's no history on her outside of those 4 times she's been adopted.
Yeah, it's pretty narrow, and for spies, it seems like a glaring oversight not to question that. But everyone in this world is just dumb enough to get by. But yeah, it's like she clearly has a high turnover rate of adoption.
I mean, she is a little weirdo, you gotta admit.
A little strange. In fact, she also read Twilight's mind. He happens to keep a lot of his spy equipment at home behind a wooden door in a briefcase. That is such a hidden place.
Well, I think
But
there was like a numpad lock on the door.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a passcode on it, which she read his mind on, but it's still a wooden door you can break. I'm not saying Anya would, but
Well, it's that false panel with the lock safe, as you do.
so she read his mind and got in there because she already knows he's a spy.
In fact, that's one of the things I'm sorry to interrupt you, but she wanted this specifically because this was green. She watches her Strix cartoons, my live action show. We're never really demonstrating about that. Doesn't matter. So this is the closest thing to get and being real, because there's no delineation at all between fiction and reality. She's going to be great.
And she ends up getting on the mic, which Eastland is listening in on, because somehow she already knows code as far as more
So funny. Well, usually they have it like on the inside of the cover.
She just goes out that Twilight's here, come and find me. And of course, they are able to trace that, and when Twilight gets home, he notices that the house has been broken into. You can't find anywhere deducting that she's been kidnapped, and then he gets attacked by thugs. And the way they play it is rather interesting, because he's fighting, and his last thought shows someone hitting him in the back of the head.
About ready to, yeah. They do a nice dramatic cut to black on it.
And we have Anya being kidnapped and taken to a warehouse full of all the main thugs, including the long-haired guy who wanted to film. And they show someone being dragged in, and they're like, we caught Twilight, the best Westland. I don't want to ruin their names. Stanleya? Yeah, them too. Westland shows up, and when they take the top off of the person who's in a mask, it ends up being one of the thugs, and Twilight rips off his mask and fights all these guys, winning and saving Anya enough to get her outside. They're still being chased, but he needs her to hide.
Well, he doesn't rip off his mask, so he is.
Well, that's right. He's wearing it the whole time, and he's trying to tell her that this is a game of hide and seek. You go to the police station. Yeah.
I love her. Papa's a good liar. Papa's a really good liar.
So, okay. There's a moment here where, like, he's got his mask on, he has picked her up, and they're running out, and she is just like, oh, it's Papa. I thought she said that out loud, and I was like, why is he completely no-selling the fact that this dude, who is the decoy octopus of Berlin, like, she just instantly saw through his disguise. Why is he not, like, surprised or, like, unsettled by that? But I think there's just an element of, like, because Anya's a telepath, and because there is such that, that necessitates a heavy reliance on internal monologues in this show, I have trouble telling when somebody is having an internal monologue versus when they're talking out loud. Like,
yeah,
there's they do the little, like, twinkle
audio
and
effect.
sound effect when Anya reads minds, right? But, like, especially with Twilight, because we need to get his, internal monologue to see that he's the straight man of the comedy for the contrast. But, like, I don't think they do, like, the in-head reverb effect that usually lets you know that you're hearing somebody's thoughts, which probably because it happens so often, you don't want the audience to get sick of it from just, like, a weird human necessities kind of way. But yeah, it led to some instances throughout everything we watched, actually. It was like, I thought somebody was saying something out loud, and it's like, no, they thought that to themselves, I guess, because nobody responded to it. Like, oh, okay, all right, sure.
I feel like, because it's one of those things, for me, I didn't have trouble picking up on it. The audio cue was enough to kind of clue me in, but I feel like there is, like, a slight difference in the audio. Now, it could be more substantial, I agree. But I feel like there's just a slight enough one that I was able to pick on as a viewer, that it was just like, okay, this is an internal thought, not a verbalization.
I just assumed everything was in their head unless I could see their mouth moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of need to rely on that.
And with what she's saying, you can feel kind of, is that something that she's saying internally or something out loud? Yes, she is a child, but you can kind of be like, is she going to call him a liar to his face, or just
especially Anya's lines? Especially, I kind of assume they're all in her head unless I see her moving her mouth, because she's her whole thing is like talking to herself in her head.
I actually wonder if this is one of those elements of porting from manga to anime because, in manga, you can very quickly, we have a visual language for this is a thought bubble versus this is a speech bubble. And yeah, if you don't want to rely on a reverb that might give people a headache, that becomes harder to sort of really make pronounced in a visual audio format.
I'm going to let you know, yes, it is, because there is the visual modifier bubble that is present. We're not going to go with like just the traditional cloudy thought bubble, but it's a little different and something I'm sure you've seen before in the various styles they've used in various manga. But yes, it is there, and I agree. I think it's just kind of an artifact of that.
Okay. It wasn't that bad. It just it caught me up a few times, so just worth noting.
He has Anya go off, and she really
What
doesn't
does he
go
give
off.
her?
She just hides. What does he give her?
He gave her
a note to bring to the police
the
station
police.
so that they'll put her in a better home.
Yeah, because he was worried. This is where you kind of see through the hardened exterior and even the interior that he tries to present to himself of, yeah, I'm this cold, heartless spy that's just doing this thing to save the world. I don't get emotional attachments. I've got to save this child, though. She should not be in this risk.
And he goes back and kicks some butt because they fell for the trap of flour in the ceiling, which they do ask a valid question, when did he have time to put there? Which is never answered, by the way.
Probably did it like the previous night or something.
Probably
because he knew she was going to be kidnapped?
No, probably because, I don't know. Or like he knew where their hideout was.
Yeah, he probably knew where they were after he interrogated and then had to make the mask for the guy. Because, you just keep that on hand. Probably set up the trap, then brought in, quote-unquote, Twilight to drop off and then save Anya.
Oh, but he ends up winning the day. Finds Anya hiding in a sign.
Behind something.
Because she wants to stay with him. And he knows he needs to do that for this mission. So they go off kind of happily. She wants to move to a castle. He says only if one's available for rent.
Yeah, because there was a snake in his boot.
And we got to the credits, which because it's not part of our thing, this end credit song. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, I'm reversing.
After they look for a new home, they show that she takes the test.
Oh yes.
And passes.
Yes, he's all excited about it too.
Yeah, and one of my favorite parts that kind of shows you does a lot of show don't tell is he finally relaxes enough that he succeeded in
falls
one
down asleep.
Yes. Well, from exhaustion, he goes home and passes out. But yeah, he falls down from exhaustion, and even he didn't realize
because he gave himself a second to relax.
Yeah, it was so good. I'm like, I could, again, from my wealth of experience as a spy, I could believe that in those kind of situations, yeah, once you're able to, in such a high stress position,
as soon as your body is like, okay, we're in a safe place, now we can just collapse.
And then of course she panics that, oh no, daddy's dead.
Actually,
and then
speaking of that, her taking the test, I love that bit of comedy there where, because like earlier when he's trying to have her memorize the answers, she's just like, why do I gotta study? I'm just gonna read everybody else's mind to get the answers anyway. Though she can't say that out loud, of course not, or there'd be no premise. But then she gets to the test and like she's trying to read the minds of everybody around her, and everyone's just like, this is the hardest test I've ever taken. She's like, oh no, my one strategy. I'm glad I memorized those lessons.
My eggs and the one basket.
Like, I was kind of surprised that they didn't go with, Twilight sitting there in the audience for this test. Am I remembering that
right? He was not.
No, the parents were all like waiting outside.
Okay, but I thought we were going to like cut over and he was just like, for his own sort of smug satisfaction, was just going over the answers in his head, and she was going to be like, oh good, daddy is thinking about the answers. I'll just read his mind.
And to your
I could
point,
see that.
I was just gonna say, to your point, that's part of, again, for our first episode, what sold me on this series is like there's so many easy outs they could have taken, so many tropes they could have just easily thrown in there because they've been done and used before, and they didn't. And they actually said, yes, this child hates to study, but she actually can do it on her own. She isn't a one-trick pony.
You know, she's just resistant to it because that's what they made her do in the lab. So it's
Also,
just kind
it's a
of
child.
yeah.
Also, she's 5.
Yeah, she did it. And I know Bob, you mentioned the end credits. We do get the end credits, but we see the new Forger home. And we go into one of my favorite moments again. Twilight mission part 1, phase 1 of the mission accomplished, or partially accomplished, and passed out on the couch. Anya goes to the mailman that comes to the door. Can you give this to your mommy? And like, I don't have one.
No, she was my mommy doesn't exist.
Yeah, and just first, yes, the perfect wording. I love that they chose those words. Loved it. But the mailman takes that in a completely different context, and the genuine emotion, like, oh, I'm sorry. And then she just wanders off, toddles off with the mail, cuddles her new father, who overreacts because, again, spy. This is completely new to him, dealing with a child, and is aghast that he could let himself be vulnerable. And then gets the letter saying, "Okay, you passed the test. You have to bring your whole family, your whole traditional 1950-esque family of, child, father, and mother."
What if his
not
spouse is dead?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, what about solo dad families?
What, you
Well-
you didn't get remarried like a proper citizen?
Yeah, as I say,
Apparently.
considering the time period they're playing off of, I can kind of see that being the expectation. I wholeheartedly had the same questions and quandaries you brought up, but I'm like, okay, it's also in service to the plot, whatever.
Yeah, I actually had the exact same thought about, like, if again, if they hadn't done Berlin and set a very particular place, time, and sort of environment for this show, then, like, yeah, like the idea of, no, it is expected for you to have a wife and it is unusual if you don't, like, that would have done it. But, like, yeah, no, the idea of this era of just like, no, there is a platonic and ideal of a family, and it is your job as a honorable citizen to uphold that ideal. So, like, yes, if you're a father, you will be married and have a kid. Like, yes, that's just it. It's like they picked a setting that makes that so believable that, like, I'm just like, yeah, no, they would have that weird stretched expectation put upon them. All right, I'll buy it.
If anything, it plays into after you.
Oh, I was just saying, this is one of the 2 points where the dub and the sub, both good, don't get me wrong, but I kind of appreciated the sub more, because when he's reading the letter and he says, and your wife, and then they just pan right to Anya, and in the dubs there is no mama, but in the original Japanese it's no mama. And I'm like, and to be fair, part of the reason that's also funny to me is my mother's dog, whenever she leaves and I go to take care of him, that's his reaction. So that just made it even funnier to me. But Bob, you were going to say something.
I was just gonna say, it kind of segues into episode 2 as far as what our expectations of what relationships look like versus the then time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for this, because this is absolutely a period piece. With some liberty, sure, but it's a period piece. And you got to kind of immerse yourself in that mentality enough, at least understand it enough to say, like, this is why certain things are the way they are. And to that point, even, like Nick brought up, Berlin, there is a lot of very simple, quick, fast, easy show don't tell that sets up the cues of when, where you are, despite the names being changed for historical dignity, let's say.
Well, there's also a lot of go ahead and tell, but they do it very quickly and sort of like efficiently, like showing the very quick Anya backstory with at the experiment lab or whatever. There they are showing it, but they are telling you at the same time, but they just go through it quick and you get it, and it's just like, oh, okay, that's you only told me what we needed to know to sort of proceed with the show. You didn't linger, you didn't try to make a joke out of it for the sake of, we're a comedy, we gotta have jokes. You just like, in, out, we're moving on, all right, let's go.
This is a comedy, in my opinion, that knows how to be a comedy and when it is appropriate and okay not to be a comedy.
Yeah, it has a very solid sort of like self-concept of wherein the comedy lies. It knows what about its premise is funny and, where to take the story to make that shine. It's not just trying to cram jokes into a premise. It is just like, oh no, this is because of this. We have some of these, like the idea. We were talking about Marx Brothers, and like, by the time this first episode is done, we kind of already have seen like the first of what is going to be like the main loop of this show, which is Twilight is trying to do normal genre spy stuff, and Anya thinks spies are so cool, so she's going to get in and make things worse by being a child who thinks spies are cool. And then Twilight has to deal with it. Like, that's from the later episodes, that's kind of the whole show.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know what? It's good.
Yeah, there will be more dramatic examples of it as the show goes on. But yes, it's essentially, like you said, here's a spy format thing, and then Anya appears.
A wild Anya.
But as Bob pointed out, that does this episode, and I love a good segue. Segues right in naturally to episode 2. It's not like you're having to struggle for it.
Episode 2, Secure a Wife. I say the title this time. Me!
Why is Joe grabbing a bat?
That's normal, for this time of night.
So, Bob, why don't you tell us about episode 2?
It opens up in a unique way because Twilight needs a wife. Because of this meeting where his entire family, Anya and said wife, will go for the board just for their interview. They decide that Frankie might make a passable wife, which we quickly realize he does not.
I don't know if
Anya's face at that is great.
Yeah, I don't know if decide is the correct term. They attempt a Frankie.
As it goes, you're the spy. Why can't you make me pretty? Not a lot to go on.
I love it. It's
and
such good dialogue.
Anya's judgment there is very 1990s dinosaur sitcom. Just not the mama.
And I'm not gonna lie, love that as a child. Annoyed my parents with it. So yeah, this really resonated hard with me.
So we switch over to kind of introducing a new character. We go to I would say around the water cooler area of a nice business establishment with three ladies who, and these ladies are smack talking their boss something fierce because he's very of the era.
Mm-hmm.
That's very diplomatic.
He's a chauvinist pig, and they're I don't know. It's a hard line because the points they're making are very valid. Just the way they're saying it makes you dislike them.
Yeah.
There's intent.
And they bring it up to Yor, who is actually making coffee for the councilman?
Said boss, but yes.
And they tell her that that she should put snot in the coffee, and she's like, "You think that would make it taste better?" And that's how we're introduced to Yor. She's not very she is, but she isn't. Yes,
and I feel bad socially
because they start asking her, "Well, why are you single? You have all the right curves, blah blah blah," which in its own way doesn't sound very good. But she's in her, I believe it's late 20s. Is what we find out.
Yeah, she's 27.
And once again, playing off of the you can't have a single dad, apparently you should be married by the time you're 20.
Again,
And
1950s, spies are
nope, I know.
everywhere.
A single
Leading
woman,
up to
that's
that.
suspicious.
And I
they
do,
talk about how they tried to, or someone got arrested or checked up on because they were single, and that was weird.
yeah,
If I remember correctly,
playing
go
they're really playing up the Big Brother aspects of just like, oh yeah, no, there is like secret police arresting happening all the time, but it is so common that we're just gossiping about it.
yeah, because it's not us. We haven't done anything wrong until they say we have. But yeah, I think it was a woman whose husband had passed, and then they arrest her for essentially free speech. And I will tell you now, Bob. You watch yourself. Yours perfect. You leave her alone.
She's a unique individual. I forget sequencing. So if you want to help me, I don't know if we see her job after this, or if this is when we see the burglary happen.
So we see your in all her glory at the job, being perfect, and then she goes home, and then she's talking to her brother, who gets a voice. So spoiler, you'll see him later, and I have opinions about him. And
yeah, they have an interesting relationship where he can just tell her, "Well, you should be married."
Again, 1950s man,
Patriarchal society.
But he's younger than her.
Yeah, but he's still the man, so he gets.
He's the firstborn son.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also never mind that she raised him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
a very young age because her parents are dead.
Let me cut through this. There's a reason I didn't introduce him in the 2-part that he shows up. Spoiler: he works for the state. But that's not my bigger problem.
That's not a spoiler. That's implied in the episode.
I know. Well, I mean, he works as the actual Gestapo, not just for the state.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, I should have been more clear. But no, the other problem is the trope that he will embody. And I'm gonna let you guess, Nick and Joe, because you're more familiar.
I don't do guessing games.
Okay, fair enough. He's very, very, what's this? Very caring and loving about his sister. Very.
Yeah, I got that vibe.
Cool. I'll be honest. First time I watched the without any future context, I didn't pick up on it until we saw him. Like, oh, he's that.
Yeah.
Also, like, again, psychologically speaking, like, everyone's behaviors and stuff, like, you look at them, you look at their situation, you look at the world they live in, you look at how they're brought up, and you go, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I mean, sure, it does, but they play it to the anime trope more. Yeah. Because he meets Lloyd later.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But I'll save that too, because you can watch that and experience it on your own. But he is probably my least favorite character. But that being said, so she talks to her brother on the phone, and then they get off the phone. Oh, she also tells him, "Oh, I have a boyfriend." Ha 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 ha. Oh, well, when do I get to meet him? Whatever. I'm going to this party tonight.
He lives in Northlandia. You wouldn't know him.
Yeah, exactly. he's
coincidence. The brother's friend is going to be at the party, and he would never lie.
Right. And the party's in a couple days, so she's hoping to find someone by then. But then she gets off the phone. She gets another call, and it's from her handler. And she thinks it's her brother, so she starts talking as if it's him. Realizes it's her handler, and she gets a job, her real job.
Her assassin job.
And then she's activated.
I love this. It's everything I want in a character.
She just goes to town on that group. We find out her name is Thorn Princess, I believe.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. and she is one of the best assassins in all the land. Oh, what?
Remove a qualifier.
Oh no, they actually listed as one of the best. They do not call her the best.
Maybe I'm remembering wrong. I could have sworn they just said
that might be a dub difference.
Translation. Yeah, maybe it was.
It's entirely possible.
She's pretty damn good at her job.
Oh, she absolutely is. And this show doesn't shy away from violence, but not extreme violence. And I meant to mention that in the first episode. You could be a lot more...
Yeah, like they don't like linger on it. Like it's obviously, like I mentioned at the beginning, like he and the creator and the editor were like very aware of like it's a spy world in a Cold War era. Like there's going to be violence, but we're not gonna like play that up as much.
I'm gonna say it's reminiscent of like 70s, 80s era Bond violence.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's like
you might see some blood.
There's violence, but there's not like gore, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's not gratuitous.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say, especially in some of the episodes we see later, the violence almost feels very surgical and strictly purpose made.
Mm-hmm.
It's at this point Bob realized he missed a scene.
Uh-oh.
What'd you miss, Bob?
We missed the fact that Twilight and Yor meet up.
We're not there yet.
But then why is she upset that her dress was ruined?
Because it's her only dress. It's her best
only
dress.
Good dress. Okay. I'm going to push my glasses up my nose. It's time.
He doesn't get paid well.
Okay. All right. Okay. I like Yor. I'm trying to get you on my side before I continue.
No, I'm completely neutral at this point. I'm just listening.
Does she actually get activated for her assassin job? I guess that's my first question.
No.
Okay,
no.
That's what I thought. Since that is not the case, I have more trouble with her character because like it is one thing to like. When we see her in, earlier, when she asked, would snot make the coffee taste better? I'm like, okay, is she just actually playing dumb or is she actually like...
No, I think that's more of just like day to day. She's just kind of like not really aware of what's going on around her. Like she's just kind of off in her own world. So like she probably like wasn't even processing everything that they were saying, but like
it's a little column A, it's a little column B.
Yeah.
Okay, but so like that comes the thing though, because like when she goes into her assassin job, and I'll put that in quotes for a minute. We'll come back to that. She is so competent at violence that. But the thing is, like, there is being competent at violence, and then there's being competent at the job of being an assassin. And like I could buy that she could be like, this great violence person, but she is so like it's somewhere between ineptitude and oblivious, whatever. She is so in between those two that like I could see the contrast of her being great at violence. I don't see her being great at assassinating. Like it
I can see it in that straightforward way of, okay, I have a task. This person needs to die. I have 2 stilettos. I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah. I was going to say, you ever see someone that's good at strictly just one thing?
Yes.
Period. I mean, I think we've all have. This is that. She is very socially... I'm going to use the word inept, but not as a negative, just as a statement of fact. She's very socially inept. Because her life, and the story goes far to drive this home, was just taking care of her brother and providing for him. And at a very early age, she became Liam Neeson. She developed realized she had a certain set of skills, and then she applied them. She was found out. We'll just leave it at that for now, and then became an assassin to become Assassino. assassino. God, I overstretched myself on
Mhm.
to become the grand assassino of this particular group she's part of.
I know this is another
So-
one of those cases where the thing I'm probably taking issue with is at least addressed, if not like explained away. But like, I don't know, like when they're showing her as an assassin, she's a John Wick, she's a Black Widow, she's a whatever. But when they're showing her as her like socially awkward everyday, like that is like, I don't know. There's something about that contrast that's like a bridge too far. Like she is too like, when you're that good at being an assassin, even if you are like, you know, the super focused, I'm good at an assassin because I'm cold, but that makes me inept at social stuff. It's like she's not just inept at social stuff. She is sort of like inept at like basic understanding and like humanity projection. It's like sometimes it comes across in word choices, sometimes it comes across in like choosing to like what to do and who to ask. It is like I don't know, like,
Believe me, I see where you're coming from. And if it weren't for the fact that I personally know people in my life that are not, obviously, to my knowledge, not assassins,
Mhm.
but essentially were nothing more than their jobs and like their immediate family interactions, I would feel exactly the way you do. But I've met those people, and
Well,
it
I-
makes her believable to me because of that. Because I can tell you, when I say these are people like twice my age, and they are still very naive to the world around them, and even some general social interactions.
well, no, because it's not that I don't buy somebody being that sort of out of step with the world around them. I can buy that. It is the gulf between being that when you're off the clock and being John Wick when you're on the clock. Like, if you are that out of it off the clock, like, you can be the best at violence, but I don't see how, like, even with a handler, you can, you know, be.
What you are saying
Uh-huh.
is that being good at violence, that means that's a physical set of skills that she's good at. She doesn't have the mental connection or awareness of operating in a world, and that mental aspect you feel is part of being an assassin, so you can't see how she can be an assassin when she's like that.
Right. Like, yes, exactly. She clearly has the sort of the violent skill, but in terms of, you know, engaging with whatever secret society or whatever this is, like, she is so inept at being a regular person that her skills are never going to be like fully put to use in a professional setting like this.
Yeah,
you know?
I think calling her assassin is a bit loose. She's definitely more of a weapon that just gets pointed at someone. Like, she's not involved in like why they're getting assassinated or like figuring out where they're going to be. That seems to be everything that the handler does or whatever, and just says, okay, this guy's going to be here, go kill him.
That's fair, and that's probably, I think you're probably more right, Joe. Is that they use the term assassin just because this is a spy. What's another thing associated with an assassin? You call her a weapon, people aren't going to know what that means, or at least initially how to context that without further development.
There's also like listen, I'm gonna touch more on my thoughts about the writing of Your later. Again, I like her as a character. But I do take issues with sort of how the character is implemented in this show, I guess. But I guess for this scene in particular, if she, okay, let's say everything is working fine. She's the best, or at least one of the best assassins. Why does she not apparently get paid for being an assassin? Like, I can see having needing a job as like a cover story, but it seems like she's working small-time jobs to pay for her assassin dresses, and that feels like the opposite of how those things should go when you're like, oh, my only good party dress is also my professional assassination dress.
That's her cover that her brother got her a job there. Or wait, did she get her brother a job? One of them got each other a job.
Okay. her brother got her a job. I'm spoiler. Her brother knows nothing about what she does.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is that like
Okay, just making sure.
he got her a job at as one of the
secretaries or whatever.
So she
And, like,
lives in a
that's her
lifestyle
cover.
according to that.
Yeah.
Okay, but your assassination job should pay for your assassination attire, right? Like even if that is, part of the life she's keeping secret, that means she should have, again, the John Wick vault inside a block of concrete full of assassination cash, even if she's not touching that because using it, flaunting it would break her cover. Like, is she just not
Maybe
getting paid
that's
for
what might be-
assassinations?
Take it up with HR. We're moving on.
Okay.
Yeah, I was saying, I just chalk it up to it's the 1950s, and it's probably part of the mindset.
She is a woman. She's getting paid cents on the dollar for her assassinations.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Yor had her dress ruined, so she has to go get it repaired. And in getting her dress repaired, who happens to be there other than Twilight?
Oh wait, sorry. Back up
kidding.
just sorry. Back up just 1 second. There was one thing I wanted to note about the assassination scene is that she brings up how she's really good at cleaning because of her job assassinating people. But that's like the only aspect of domesticity that she's good at. Okay, continue.
Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
She gets her dress repaired at a place where Twilight happens to be. He realizes that she was capable of sneaking up on him without him realizing, and using his amazing memory, recalls everything about her. And
because we had the scene where they stole. Okay. They either stole the information about all the women working at City Hall, or they stole from City Hall the information on all the single women in the city.
I think it was citizen records, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Frankie liberated all the citizen records of all the single ladies.
All the single ladies?
all the single ladies.
Okay.
And because Twilight, perfect I'm hung up on the word assassin, spy. Perfect spy that he is, I'm sure has an edict memory.
So he remembers everything about Yor.
Eidetic?
Thank you, yes. I knew I said it wrong as soon as I said it.
It sticks to metal?
No, it's totally an edict.
You have two of us on the show who are just going to go the wrong way with it on purpose. What have you two done?
That's why we're here having this conversation around you.
Okay.
Now, Bob, why is Lloyd there?
Because he's looking for a woman.
No,
he's there for Anya.
What did Anya need?
Clothes.
That's right. For the school. Silly me.
Yeah.
And thank goodness Anya's there because, don't forget, Anya's also a telepath. And she's like...
Oh yeah, this scene was fantastic.
An assassin? A spy?
I loved the voiceover from the narrator. This child is clearly starved for attention.
And she starts talking about how she needs a mommy. Because...
Well,
yeah, because she knows Lloyd's looking for someone.
And she knew that Yor was going to move on, thinking that Twilight having a child clearly has a wife because that's how things are supposed to be.
I love it.
Yeah.
Upon realizing single, she makes her advance. Oh, you think that I look nice? And he says, yes,
you find something
I do.
Physically appealing about my form?
And it's probably the cringiest conversation of two people meeting, but it works for this particular situation between these two people.
These two are professionals.
They take it outside.
Oh my god.
Where... Yeah.
Wait, I just thought of something. Does the show cover whether or not Yor knows what soccer is?
I don't think
it would be
football.
It would be football, yeah.
Does she know?
I mean, translated, yes.
Why? Where are you going?
Because not knowing what soccer is was like Okay, in Valkyria Chronicles 2 for the PSP, when they wanted to show that a character was Moe, it was a soccer ball gets kicked over to her and she goes, "What is this? Some kind of weird egg." So now whenever somebody's Moe, I check to see if they know what soccer is. But also, this actually kind of explains everything about the issues I have with her character, because especially if her brother is as doting as you're saying, it's because she's Moe.
Yeah.
And everything else is in service of that. Okay, you know what? Everything makes sense now. Thank you for the Rosetta Stone of Yor doesn't know what soccer is. Sorry, football.
We're getting there.
Oh
We'll
my
get you there,
God.
buddy.
Oh my God. Okay, go on.
Ask her
I'll
about
catch up.
tennis.
Oh my goodness. That was a very nice map. I'm glad that we got the lines connected. So they go outside and they somehow make a not date situation setup where Yor's like, "Will you go here and pretend to be my boyfriend because everyone assumes that I'm dating, so just show up to this party." And Twilight's like, "Well, can you pretend to be my wife? I know it sounds a little crazy, but I need someone to pretend to be my wife so my kid can get into this school." And they both mutually agree. Would Twilight think?
Here's the thing. I can again just going into the era, because believe me, watching this the first time, like, God, this conversation, even the premise at that point felt strange. Like, considering how they've set up the world, though, it's like, yes, if you stand out other than the norm as dictated by society, as dictated by the government, then yeah, I could see, and I'm sure there have been those kind of relationships of convenience.
These two people are literally the only two people who would agree to something like this, because they are so out of touch with what is normal.
Exactly. And that's why Yanya's there, because she makes it work, because otherwise it clearly wouldn't have.
It fixes whenever a movie does the thing where we go like, "Oh, I want this," but clearly they would have this thing and the other person said the exact same thing, and it's like purely by assumptions because nobody talks to each other that, you know, the great opportunity is missed. And then Anya is here to fix that trope and just be like, "Oh, they're both being dumb. Let me just make them kiss." And she just slaps these two together like dolls.
Anya is the hand of the audience.
Oh my God, it is the best. It is the best trope subversion I've ever seen. I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
So yeah, they agree to be each other's plus one.
After we get this meeting, we cut to the day of the party, and wouldn't luck have it, Twilight has a mission. And this mission is to recover some missing museum pieces. To which Frankie is assisting him, because he kind of talks Frankie into the fact that, well, if some of the stuff goes missing, the museum's not going to notice. And Frankie's like, "Oh, I guess I'm on now. I've been building some stuff." At no point do I know what did he build for this mission? A van?
Yeah, he brought a van.
Yeah, Frankie.
That's it. Why put it that line?
Like part informant, part fence, part Twilight's Q.
Frankie is a Swiss Army person.
Yeah,
he's there.
If this were actually a Bond movie, Frankie would be played by Joe Don Baker.
He'd be playing very different roles, so.
Yeah. Oh, I want to see Joe Don Baker as Q, actually. Ooh.
I want to see Joe Don Baker as Frankie.
Yeah.
With the hair.
Oh my God.
So they go and they are able to liberate all these museum pieces from the bad guys, with Twilight even taking the time. What?
I'm going to apologize and I'm going to correct you quick. Hold on, since I have glasses. Push up. Actually, they're stealing from black marketeers and illegal organizations to give to their actual spy agency.
So they're recovering.
They're reappropriating, because stealing from thieves. What kind of heroes steal?
We'll get to that point, because even though Twilight takes the time to count how many bad guys there are, that he has to take less than 10 seconds to fight each one.
One-on-one.
Yep. While, Frankie is getting everything ready, i.e. closing the back door. And they take off with Frankie excited. Which one of these are going to go missing? Twilight's like, yoink, this one's mine. The most expensive piece in the entire thing, which happened to be a diamond ring. Wonder where that's going.
I do too.
So they end up having to drive off with guns being shot at them, which I guess that doesn't make much sense. It's more the bullets are being shot at them. And we switch over to Yor's point of view, where she is standing there, sad and alone, waiting for Lloyd to show up and take her to this party, at which point she realizes, so this is what it's like to be stood up. I don't know if that implies this is her first date ever.
Mm-hmm.
I'd buy it.
Yeah, she doesn't strike me as the type to seek it out and have time for it.
And then she goes to the party, which just shows why every introvert is right.
Mm-hmm.
And this is quite possibly the worst place. I would have left like 5 minutes in, because the head of the party is, pardon my French, but the biggest bitch I've ever met. He literally
so
goes
much.
out of her way to make it horrible just for Yor. Telling her friends,
Camilla
why did
is
she
a
show
real
up?
bitch.
I don't understand.
If you didn't hate her by the end of the gossip scene at the beginning of the episode, they're just really making it unmistakable now.
And,
So she starts talking to her like, where's your boyfriend at? Oh, he's running late. Uh-huh. You have no boyfriend. Hey, everyone, let's laugh at her.
Can I take this opportunity to say, I wonder if Camilla's son will be, if she has a son, will be named Kyle.
Probably.
And if you get the joke,
At one point, Yor's thought is, it'd be worth it just to kill everyone. then my
That's
brother,
how I feel at every party.
yeah,
and my brother won't be told that I showed up alone, because her friend will not be able to tell him.
they'll all be dead.
Man, going sicko mode would really solve all of my problems right now. Like I said, I love her as a character. I may not buy her premise, but I love her as a character.
She's very relatable.
Oh my god.
So she gets to the point where she's going to leave because she's been mocked so bad, when, lo and behold, Lloyd/Twilight comes walking through the door, blood dripping off of him, saying, I'm so sorry that I am late, Yor, but I am here. Using the excuse,
Your husband, am here.
Oh, yep. And his excuse, he is a psychologist, which we learned in episode 1, is his cover. But his patients sometimes have violent outbursts.
Mm-hmm. As they do.
They do.
And Camilla, so upset, tries to put a spicy tray of like weird soup, pretty much, and splash it on
I
her.
believe it was rotten.
It's still piping hot.
Yes,
And Yor catches it with her foot.
with her
It didn't
soccer
even-
skills.
Yeah.
Oh, she does know keepy uppy, I guess.
Yeah, she know keepy uppy very well.
To which Twilight says, "Now, honey, you aren't supposed to play with the food. That's impolite."
With your foot, anyway.
With your foot.
Actually,
Everyone's.
I bet she doesn't know it because of soccer. I bet she knows it because of, like, having to kick a disembodied head around.
Well, a soon-to-be disembodied head, but yes.
Yeah.
I'm completely with you on that. I'm like, maybe that's how she learned to play soccer, with the disembodied.
Oh, she's going to be great at soccer the first time she learns about it because she knows how to kick heads. Yes, this all makes sense. This sounds like something
It
the
all
show would
lines
do
up.
from what I know.
Everyone's surprised that Yor is married, and ask her about it, and she kind of just brushes it off. She didn't want to tell him about it. And
How
Yor,
long has she been married, Bob?
I don't remember.
1 year.
Aw, what a nice anniversary to go to a bitch's party. Anyway, so they hurry up and leave. At which point the thugs, they reallocated museum pieces from, find the couple, end up trying to fight her, and he's all worried about Yor, but Yor ends up showing him that she is more than capable of handling things on her own, because as she told him, she took a few self-defense classes, and she's pretty good at it.
Well,
And boy,
yeah, his
is she.
patients showed. His
Yes, and-
patients were showing up for treatment.
It's the concussive response.
Concussive therapy.
Yeah, which is
It's
hilarious.
very experimental, and I love it.
And she feels bad because she hits one. She's like, I don't know if I'm allowed to touch your patients.
Yes, it should be left to a trained professional.
And this,
I love the show.
I think that plays a little bit to Nick's concern of when she's not being an assassin. She's a little.
This only works because she is so detached. And honestly, I identified with her a little bit autistic, but that might just be me being biased. But just that kind of straightforward, you said this is what the case is, so I believe you.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. Like, if you want to like make the case I see is like socially inept because of like, you know, autism coded or whatever, I totally buy it. But sometimes they push it more to that where it's just like, oh no, she is just like beyond being high functioning autistic.
I'll give you a real quick hand, like kind of shorthand for them. There is kind of there's extremes at either end. There's your straight man, your comedian, and then your one in the middle, your middle point. Yours is the middle point. She is both, you know, as you said, super competent, but also kind of not. And I can see the possible autistic coding. I didn't want to call out because I am not qualified to speak from that. But I could kind of believe that in the depiction.
You've seen Gundam, though.
Seeing Gundam does not make me an expert in certain things. I've seen certain shows that should make me an expert in trauma, and only actual personal trauma has made me an expert in trauma.
Yeah, okay.
So, well, we got to the conclusion of the fight with Twilight suddenly realizing there's a hole in his pocket. He's going to use that ring he had before to propose to Yor.
I wonder where the ring went.
They actually say.
No, that's why I asked earlier. It's like, I wonder where that ring's going to.
Yeah, it's like in a ditch somewhere.
But fortunately, Twilight does have a grenade, which he pulls the ring from, throws the grenade at the bad guys, and uses it with a proposal with Yor. I believe Yor actually proposed.
She did.
He is able to use that to his advantage.
Yeah, and then he puts the pin. Beyonce said put a ring on it. He went a step further.
He put a ring on it and put a pin in it. Wait.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, God.
And thus ends the episode. The different and no, it's the same ending.
Mm-hmm. But we actually got the intro this time.
Yes.
I really appreciated this proposal because, like, this is basically my approach to relationships. It's like, this just makes logical sense. Like, we both need a significant other, at least on the books, so why
you
not?
solve a need I have in my life. Not necessarily an emotional one, but you solve a need that I need occupied, a position filled. You want to do this? Yes, okay. I love their vows, too.
Mm-hmm.
If we at least say we're dating, then there's a lot of headache in both of our lives that goes away, so why not?
Yeah.
Why escalate that further?
Makes sense to me.
I
Also,
really wanted to
Nick pointed out to me after the show that this is basically how our relationship started.
I saw that in the notes. I was laughing and I saw it, I'm like, I don't know how to feel about that statement. I'll wait for the podcast.
There were less explosions, but
Yeah.
Okay.
There
I assumed
was.
that much.
There were Nerf assassin games, though.
oh,
Okay.
that's right. I did have to catch food with my foot once.
Yeah.
Do you know what soccer is?
That's no, but I played a lot of hacky sack, so.
I was gonna say, okay, do you know it better by the name of football?
Football, ooh, fancy, European.
Continental, yes.
Like breakfast.
I really wanted to show you guys episode 3 because.
Don't worry. We plan, us two at least, plan on watching this show entirely.
Yeah,
so
okay. I will
We'll
not
there,
say
but...
what I was gonna say. There's just some delightful your moments.
Yeah. But yeah, we're skipping over episode 3 through 12 for now.
And moving on to episode 13, I believe.
That's correct.
Project Apple.
Said the thing.
Black and White Toho song. Nope.
Mm-hmm.
So, something that was noted for us, and I fully agree, is they kind of show what's happened before leading up to this point. And Anya is collecting stars to get into the school.
Like, allow me to explain.
I don't know. In my mind, I just saw, she has to collect stars. It's a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, and I'm set.
I was so upset because that was such a better explanation than what was actually happening, in my opinion. So here's the thing. You know how in school you got a gold star sometimes? And maybe your school didn't do this. I don't know.
Okay, so literally when when I was upstate a couple weeks ago, I was going through and cleaning out some stuff in my room, and one of the things I found was one of our golden tickets from elementary school, where when you did something good or like helped a teacher with something, they gave you these little golden tickets, and you could trade them in for things. This
is more of a status symbol, but essentially, yes. There is these something scholar. I keep want to say imperial, but I do not believe that is correct. But these scholars that essentially it is a status, and Desmond, I forget his last name, but not Hitler. Hitler has another son. Thank you. Yes, Desmond Donovan. Desmond Donovan has a first son, an older son, who is the scholar, and because of that, those scholars and families, there's a tight social circle, status, etc., etc. So Anya's kind of submission is to get those, or maybe it's her primary intent as by way of Lloyd for her to get those. Anya's also trying to go the friendship route, because for her, this is now a visual novel. And, credit to her. She's going about it to the best way a 4 or 5-year-old can. And she ends up, because of her telepathic powers, saves a kid from drowning.
Right, because there's also this element of, like, you don't just get a star for, like, academic achievement, but there's almost like a Boy Scout element to it. Like, if you do a significant good deed, you get rewarded with one.
Yeah, if you are an upstanding citizen, and her teacher, who is the butler-looking guy in the credit or the opening role of previously on, he really, really goes hard on the this is just exemplary. This is truly class. If you get those, or if you demonstrate what it is to truly be exemplary, then this is what you get. And thus status. If you get X amount of stars, I want to say it was like, oh God, I can't remember now. 8, thank you. I want to say 7, like that's not right. But you get 8 stars, you're part of the club. You get this, get to know the special knock on the door, etc. And that's Lloyd's primary goal and route to get to Desmond.
Yes.
Which is the point of Project, oh boy. This project here. That's that.
Oh, Strix. Operation Strix is to get to...
Project Apple is something far more nefarious.
Yeah.
You can tell, here's your mnemonic device. It's Operation Strix because Anya is a part of it, and Strix are for kids.
Go away.
So long. How long?
Go away. I
No.
wish I could mute
I
you.
feel like that
Do it
has
again.
been patiently waiting for a while.
Nick, it's you and me, buddy.
Several people are typing.
It's you and me, man. We got this.
Oh my god, that's under recording now.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, do it again.
No.
Okay. So, also, since episode 13 was in the second half of the first season that was released, we get a new opening theme song, which is also good. All 4 openings and closings for the show
Yes.
are great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely are.
So, Bob, tell us about the episode.
This one kind of opens up with Anya wanting a dog.
As her reward for getting a star.
And she just wants this little dog. So they go to essentially not the spy dog area, but the spy dog area.
Mm-hmm.
And we see what is quite possibly the buffest, saddest dogs I've ever seen in my entire life. And
They're
let me point out,
Incredible.
this show does a great job of dogs.
Uh-huh.
See lots of dogs, and they are just dogs. Dachshunds look like dachshunds. That pit bull looked like the buffest pit bull ever. There's the Rottweiler. It's all
Okay,
spot on.
but also that pit bull was like looked like he was squatting with his elbows on his knees like a Ukrainian high schooler. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you did catch when they were actually flexing.
Yeah.
Yes, they're trying to be adopted.
because they're talking.
They're
World War
specifically, they're specifically like military trained dogs.
And Anya's face when she turns around is incredible.
And he's like, that's the no face.
If you look in our side chat, I posted probably the face she's best known for. But yes, her expressions.
That's her
little
troll
expressions
face,
are-
yeah.
That is the best face.
So they go to the dog park as directed by the dog person there. They see all these cute, wonderful dogs just running around.
Oh, actually,
Well-
right before we move on, this is another time to talk about sub versus dub, because
Mhm.
the voice
That's why
acting
I'm-
for these dogs in either language is top notch.
Voice acting. What did I
Yeah.
miss?
Just the noises that the dogs make, just going like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah,
What?
you can clearly tell these are
What?
voices trying to be dogs.
Yeah, no, it is just like human actors, but they're not even making
noises. Like they're not trying to be dogs, like they're just basically making like tough guy grunting noises and stuff.
Mhm.
It's great.
This is the only like part of any of this that I went back and also watched in Japanese just to hear the Japanese take
Oh.
on the dog voice acting.
Because you see, I wanted to circle back to this because Bob skipped probably my favorite part, and the other reason I felt the dub versus sub mattered.
What's that?
So before they leave, before they go to the place they're referred to look at the dog show, Lloyd is flagged by one of the operatives that are there because this is a front for their operation, or at least the local front. He said, "We got another mission and we need you." "Oh, my stomach is acting up and I must go to the bathroom."
Oh, because
In-
Daddy's going to be in there for a while when he goes to
Right.
the crapper.
He goes to the crapper in the dub. In the sub, however, Anya knows words. Anya says, "Daddy can spend a lot of time in the shitter. Where did you learn that language? I've got to go."
I also
And I'm
like
like, oh.
I'm glad we got this in today's selection, because when episode 2 started, I did notice that there was like a big like it looked like the fragile symbol on shipping boxes, but it for like an upset stomach, and I was like, that took up the full screen. What does that have to do with this show? And then I'm like, oh, okay, upset stomach is code word for I need to go do a mission privately. I'll be back.
I've got to push one out. Deliver the payload. Drop the bombs off at the pool. Whole new meaning.
Oh. Okay, but yes, dog show.
We got
Yeah,
to the
so
dog show.
Yor and Anya end up having to go there on their own.
The dog and kitty.
There's
and
so many
show.
dogs.
And
There
rabbits.
are a lot of dogs.
And there
There's
are
bunnies.
kittens, and it's perfect. This is what heaven looks like.
This is where Anya starts hyperventilating over everything being so cute, and I am doing the exact same thing in my chair, and from this point forward, all of my notes are in caps.
I noticed.
Uh-huh. It's a good episode. Thank you for picking
It is. I picked it for the shitter thing just to talk about it, but absolutely I knew, like, there's kitties and bunnies and doggies. I'm winning.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to our abilities as an audience, we do know through other scenes that there is kind of a bombing getting ready to be planned, and they're using dogs, coincidentally, to lay bombs throughout the city. And wouldn't luck
Technically
have
known
it,
as bomb dog.
one of the bomb dogs happens to be walking by where Anya's standing, and she sees this big, giant, white, furry dog that she just has to have.
His name is Dogford Brimley, and you will respect him.
Actually, I believe she calls him Mr. Doggy.
Yeah, she just calls him Mr. Dog, which is it has the English translation of basically just saying dog with the like respectful suffix in Japanese.
Joe, tell me he doesn't look like Wilford Brimley.
Oh no, he does.
Inu-san.
Also, we slightly glossed over the dog's introduction, just for the fact that the two people are walking two bomb dogs, including Dogford Brimley. And this is just so I can identify him, really. But Dogford Brimley saves a child from being crushed.
Mm-hmm.
By,
Yeah, he pulls away
At the
from
sign.
his owner.
Sign. Thank you.
Yeah, that's when I wrote the note, hero dog saves boy. I knew the dog was going to be special too.
Please continue so they've seen the dog.
Thor had specifically told Anya not to leave the area, and Anya, being the well-listening child that she is, goes off to see this one dog.
Yeah, I mean, she's 4 years old. It's a giant fucking fluffy dog. Of course she's going after it.
There's a little more to it, though. Because Anya can read minds.
Now, could she read them? I thought it was after meeting the dog she read it. No, she saw the dog having a picture of the whole family.
Right.
Which, as an audience, we're confused.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she saw the family. But then, if I remember correctly, it was at this point also, she saw the family, and then, Lloyd kind of disappeared.
So, she goes off after Doggy, and Yor loses her crap because she lost Anya. And I think, for myself, this is the only scene that, while hilarious, bugged me. She's doing all of this flipping and jumping up into the ceiling, and no one bats an eye.
Everyone is as dumb as they need to be to survive in this world.
Well, they bat the smallest of an eye. Like
once she jumps down.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's just like I love it because basically it's like she is Altair in Assassin's Creed, and everyone else is just NPC. So you just jump off a roof and land next to him, and they go like, "Oh, whoa, that was weird." All right, anyway, back to sweeping.
I need a dub of this episode of when she comes down from the ceiling of just the eagle screech.
Cry.
So Anya's going off and ends up getting, I would say, captured-ish with the dog with the bad guys. And I just use bad guys loosely because it's some sort of terrorist group. And using her amazing ability to realize that she can read minds that we've known all along, she is able to read the dog's mind. While they're captured with someone getting ready to slit her throat, the dog flashes to her mind that the phone's going to ring. And everyone's going to look at the phone. She's amazed when the phone starts ringing. And the dog is like, let's leave.
Just grabs her.
And then whips her onto whips her onto his back. And takes off. The thieves are arguing, oh my goodness. The terrorists are arguing until they realize she's gone. So it's the dog. And they got to chase after her.
So they are like radicalized students who are planning bombings, and they are led by L from Kill Bill. That's not it. Death Note.
No, you said Kill Bill. It's now canonically Kill
It's
Bill.
L from Kill Bill.
I need that movie.
The famous four assassins, L, M, A, and O, and then also
Sometimes why.
well, no, that's the one who led him, which David Carradine. Thank you, got there. Okay, you want to talk about Long Walk?
And while chasing off, Anya's screaming, and you're here sad. Oh, so sorry.
Nope, I'm making something dumb. Go on, ignore me.
I'm sure it's very wise. Anya's screams are heard by Yor, and Yor's like, "Oh my goodness, gotta save my baby!" Which she does pretty well, because while the dog is not the brightest dog and starts running in circles, showing that it's not like a human dog, it's just a dog that can see the future a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Again, great depiction of a character.
Yeah,
Precog dog is just a dog. Telepathic girl, just a girl.
they make such a great team.
Maybe that's a way to look at Yor, because I kind of understood where you're coming from, Nick. Maybe assassin regular lady is just a regular lady who also happens to be an assassin.
So we'll get to that in a minute. Like when
Okay.
I think it's the end of this episode, not the beginning of the next one.
Where
Or
she's able to kick him and he bounces off of several walls.
Yeah, she sends that man pinball mode.
She is a Super Saiyan, and you will not convince me otherwise.
And she ends up saving Anya. And Anya is like, "Can we keep it?" And that kind of ends the episode, essentially, but we know that she's going to end up wanting the dog.
Well, I do want to just kind of go back to how this ends, which goes back to Yor's concern when Anya disappeared. She's like, "Oh no, what if a dog ate her?" And just Anya's depiction, both in sub and dub, are great. And then it's, "Oh no, but wait, I was watching the news and something child brides and someone abducting poor Anya." And when she saves her, it's like, she is too young to be married. And that is in her canon, in her version of the canon, why they were after this poor child.
Yor is a little bit like Chappie. Now hold on, follow me here. You remember?
I was gonna say, go on.
You remember when
It's a
Diane
good movie.
was like, "Hey, if you use these nunchucks on those guys, you'll make them go sleepy." And it's not till later that Chappie's like, "You lied to me. You said I was just making them go sleepy, but I was killing them." That's kind of Yor.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like somebody told Yor, "You're just making them sleepy" when you kicked him in half.
Oh.
Yeah. If it weren't for the fact I know that she demonstrably knows that she's murdering people, yeah.
I can't.
Definitely similar vibes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Wow, I forgot all about Chappie too.
Point at your memories. That's Chappie.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. I agree. Bob, I think we saw that in the theater with a friend of ours.
Oh,
I
damn.
believe so.
But yeah, good film. Wow, it's been so long since I've seen it. I haven't thought about it in that time.
Anyway, back to dogs.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh no, the episode's
because-
over.
Yeah.
Well, we swoop right into the next episode, which is also about dogs.
Well, we
It's
swoop
the end
into
of
the
this
next
arc.
episode. We swoop into the next episode, which we skip, into the next episode that we watch.
And I make note, because we didn't watch 14, I found it kind of weird that there's almost... I'm curious to at least watch episode 14, because I need to know what happens in the middle, because you could almost put 15 after 13 and it would be okay.
Yeah, it really
Would you
wasn't
believe
Yeah.
that was also part of my intent.
Sure.
It
Um,
worked,
By
yeah.
the way, did we touch on why episode 14 is called Project Apple?
No, we
No.
missed that. Go on.
Well, so the project that the experimental dog or wild animals, I guess in general, to give them powers or make them super
To
are
train them for combat.
Yeah, it was called Project Apple.
They were trying to make them experimental data dogs, just like Ein.
Yeah.
Not
Anime
quite
is a
data
flat
dog,
circle.
Yeah. but if I remember correctly, this is something that the CIA tried.
Oh yeah.
As I say, and I love that they're kind of touching on that for this. I love that they're grasping from actual things from history, to use here.
Especially in the Cold War era,
Mhm.
like the government tried all sorts of.
I can't wait for the.
I don't want to say experimental. Like they went down a lot of avenues of possibilities.
I can't wait for the MK Ultra arc in the series.
Oh man, I bet Anya's a scorpion main. That's my joke. Thank you.
Oh my god! It took me far longer to get that than I will admit to. All of like 2 seconds, but damn.
Okay.
So we
So we
start
swoop.
with the last
Okay.
time on.
Yes.
Yeah, which
Where-
basically sums it up.
Where to deal with a dog bomb, you just, put the bomb in a box.
Well, he puts the
defuse it,
bomb in the river, and he puts the dog in a box.
but how does he get the bomb off the dog? They are one and the same.
He calmly explains, please take that off. And the dog is like, well, okay, I'm talking now, and takes it off.
He
I mean, if by calmly
does a
explains, you mean
slow striptease.
I mean,
Duh.
by slow piece, you mean fires 4 shots perfectly, ripping the vest off the dog.
It's
Or that's an option too.
It's basically the scene
No,
from
no.
the Transporter 2 where he does the car flip bomb disarm
Oh my
fiasco.
God. I'm also now calling whenever you shoot something off someone a slow striptease.
That's good. That's good.
And the dog ends up in the crate. And the day is saved, except for the bad guy who is driving around, trying to escape.
Well, he's trying to blow up the bomb.
Yes. Being chased by Lloyd, and ends up seeing a lone Yor in the middle of the street.
Well, Yor sees him first.
And it's like, you're the bad guy, I'm going to deal with you by doing some sort of weird kick. Does she actually connect, or is the wind of her kick so strong it makes the car crash?
She connects.
Yor is Chun-Li's mother.
It's really impressive. He crashes, and she calls the police saying, hey, no, one of those terrorists just happened to crash over here. I don't know what happened.
Who am I? I'm just a housewife.
So they capture him. They get all the puppies together. And Lloyd re-shows up without any explanation other than apparently he just takes a long time to poop.
Daddy takes a long time in the shitter.
We see, although we were introduced to her last episode, we once again see Twilight's boss come to gather up the bad guy. And Anya really likes this dog, Mr. Doggy.
Yeah, they're the same.
And she wants to bring him home, and Twilight's boss is actually like, you can have this dog, it would be good. And I don't understand why there's not a bigger fuss about it, because it is a trained bomb dog. But after taking it somewhere to check it up, they're going to bring it to the Forger household.
Well, first, there was a fight.
There was?
Because Lloyd was just going to hand the dog over and be done with the matter. And Anya does not negotiate with terrorists that would take her dog from her, and says, if I do not get Mr. Dog, I'll stop being good.
There will be no
That's
world
right, now get
peace.
kicked out of school.
And also combine that with the fact that Lloyd and his handler are both kind of, obviously it's audible because we need to be able to hear it as the audience, but talking about the mission in front of both Lloyd and Anya, who should not know about it.
They stepped away a little bit.
Like
They
us
turned
step
around,
back.
yeah.
No, they were still facing them. I was taking detail on that. I was like, no, they're just there. Okay. I guess Lloyd just kind of made the hand signal for Yor to just go to her happy place.
Mm-hmm.
And Anya's too young. What will she know? But yeah, like Anya will not negotiate with terrorists who do not let her have the dog of her choice. And I love that this is like probably the closest to out of her age range she is acting to get what she wants, but it is still perfectly believable that a child would say something like this at the same time.
That is absolutely something a child would say, even without knowing that that's the one specific thing that Lloyd needs her to do.
She wants something. She is cutthroat for the one thing she wants. It's just that in this case, what she wants is its big fluffy dog.
And
he has a particular set of skills.
Yeah, and so does the dog. It's called Saving Anya. And I love that the handler's like, to be fair, dog did not carry bombs. Dog, if anything, may have actually helped us in its own way. At the very least, took care of the necessary, the asset. That's the word I was like. Dog protected the asset. Asset needs protection. Keep asset safe.
And also, did you see when Anya was riding that dog? She would look like a wolf warrior.
Oh, yes. Every time, like from the moment that the dog put her on her back, I'm like, this is every child's dream.
Well, the only thing that could have made it better is she had gotten her pistol.
With the silencer.
Like, we need the Spy Family Shippuden where it's like 10 years later and a 15-year-old Anya is super into airsoft.
Oh. That would be precious, and I need this spin-off series now.
Oh my goodness.
Well, there's a whole show about the survival that...
Yeah, there is.
Substitute for that.
Oh my god, I forgot.
So
yeah. So that was left off, and we also get a little bit of the backstory for the handler, which I appreciate. It's not just I'm a handler and therefore this job is my life. The handler has had a daughter and uses her experience with children to say, just let her have the dog.
I am curious, and so real question here, but like, do we like they do another thing with the handler and her background where it's just like, hey, I'm just gonna say a little bit to let you know that I have a background, but we're not gonna linger on it. But like, do we go more into like stuff around the handler? Because between that, like taking the time to give her a background, and also like when we see her in the last episode, they do this weird like frame composition thing with her hat where like it's always very particularly placed across the frame, and it's just like, does that mean something? Is she secret? Is there going to be like a big reveal later? It's just like, oh, this is what the hat means. Like, or am I just making stuff up?
I'm still catching up with the manga, but so in the manga you get little bits of her backstory here and there. Because there's going to be like little one-offs where you need to fill time and have a break from the action, so she
works as an attaché and secretary in the embassy as a front for her intelligence act. She is called Full Metal Lady. She tends to give her agents a hard time and overworks them, especially Twilight, who she directly trained when he joined, and her training was a bit harsh and traumatic for Twilight. She's extremely competent and reliable, being able to trick SSS agents and apprehend terrorists by herself, although she admits that overexerting takes a toll on her body. She once had a family with her husband and young daughter, but what happened to them is unknown. After the bomb dog terrorism incident, she adopts the German Shepherd and names him Aaron.
Oh.
I didn't want to spoil.
That's adorable, though. That's a fine spoiler. I like to be spoiled to know everything goes well.
I'm trying to bait you also into being the problem with me and making this just a better selling manga.
But I don't read. I watched it dub. I don't even read subtitles. You think I'm going to help manga sales?
You can't blame me for trying. This is a great show.
That's fair.
Okay, but we gotta finish up this episode, though, because we gotta get this dog back to this family.
Yes.
Which that's conveniently what happens next. So the dog gets returned, everything's safe and sound. I guess I was expecting more of a reveal, but there wasn't. It was, here's your dog. And he kind of slowly enters into the house, getting a lay of the land, and then eventually comes their dog.
And we get that shot of him seeing them as a family.
From his precog vision.
Yeah.
Yay.
And then they had to name him.
Oh, we got to that after school, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Because we have to go to school, and we got to actually meet the kid who, or I get to formally meet the kid who Anya is supposed to be getting close to. Her thought process throughout the school time of, if I act cool and I have a dog, people are going to want to be interested in me. Mm-hmm. Very 5-year-old logic.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that. It's not like she's some super duper wizard who's going to entrap people with saying mystery things. No, she's just like,
it's kid logic. It's great.
I have a big dog. Ooh.
I don't know, but I have to assume the mangaka, the creator for this, has a family. Because this is just too perfect a depiction of a child and childish behavior to be anything other than that.
So she tells the little girl who sits next to her, who's like, oh, that's pretty cool. And Anya's like, it works. That's all I have to say. So she goes out of her way to find Damien. It's like, I have a big dog. And Damien's like, okay. And Damien's friends are like, that's stupid. You're a weird girl.
So to be fair, she has a good friend named Becky. And Anya, in the most truly strategic of manners, I have a new dog. And Becky loves this idea, except when she hears that the dog has no name. And Becky's like, oh, I can't wait to come over. And then Anya's already halfway out the door to go find Damien.
Like, she's already taking after Twilight because she's just like, I am being sociable for the pure functional sake of seeing if this scheme might have any footing.
And I love that. It's like her father is her role model, and she is absolutely adopting his skill set, which should absolutely give him away eventually.
And Damien is like, that's kind of cool until they ask what the dog's name is, and she hasn't named the dog yet.
Okay.
To which Damien's like, whatever. I'm too cool for this.
At this
Let
point,
me go over here.
What would you have named the dog?
At this point, what?
What would you have named the dog if you were to pick the?
I would have stuck with Mr. Doggy. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Mr. Dog solid. I was thinking Marshmallow.
Aww.
Listen, I said Dogford Brimley for a reason.
You did.
Also, I do love when she approaches Damien about the dog. Why should I care? And just you can just hear the gif, the video of emotional dad.
So Anya heads home from school, a little defeated, but with the mission of naming this dog. She comes in, dog loves her, and forgers are like, okay, we should name it. And, Twilight being Twilight, well, studies show that a dog should have a simple name. The vowel in the middle that is long, so as not to confuse it.
He is 100% correct in all of that.
That is absolutely 100% correct. A pet's name should never be more than 2 syllables long, otherwise they're confused and just associate with everything else.
Yeah,
but most people don't realize that. How many dog shows have you watched where Sergeant General Dirty Pants Floyd Smith Cheeseburger III is the winner?
Yeah, like you can give him the long name, but then like when you're training him or call him or whatever, it's got to be a recognizable like short sound.
And Anya just doesn't care.
Well, she cares, but
she gives it names like
information.
Princess Doggy and stuff like that.
Because she does her research like any good spy. She asks in the best childish way ever, tell me your secrets. Asking all the other dog park denizens to tell them, like, what's your dog's name? How did you come up with this name?
Yep, because they go to the park.
The Anya park, unless the dog plays with her.
Yes. Which it's really cute.
Way more excited for the walkies than the dog was.
Let's go for walkies. Walkies!
And eventually, she comes up with several names and none of them resonate.
She even tries to play with the dog with her shoe.
I mean, to be
Like,
fair,
it's
if I was a
really
dog, I
cute.
wouldn't chase that either.
So they have their time at the park.
And then she can't find her gloves.
Oh, yes, that's right. Which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
Why she took them off in the first place, who knows?
To
And
pet
it really-
the dog.
It makes such a question of what time of the year it is. They are really moving this time.
We'll say fall.
I mean, it doesn't get like that's normal for mid Europe. Like they
Or
have hot
Westland and Eastland.
bits, but like they're in general pretty temperate.
So they go off. Dogs come home with Twilight
You
and
forgot how
Yor
they found how
With
they
the
found
gloves? with the pit bull,
Uh-huh.
which scares Anya until Mr. Doggy comes along. Is like, you gonna put that down? And the
Just
other dog's
literally
like, yep.
pushes the dog.
And that other dog is like, you win, and gives the gloves away.
And she thinks of her spy show, which becomes relevant.
Because, of course, being a child, she relates everything to her favorite show of like, oh, this is like that one time when Bondman got that thing back for that lady.
Mm-hmm.
So when they get back, that's where the name comes from. She's super excited. She's like, this is the perfect name. We will name the dog after my character, Bondman, and call him Bond.
And
The audience are like, uh-huh.
This is where I just throw my hands up, like, all right, okay, all right, fine.
I just love that the name of the in-universe is Bondman.
Correct.
Not Bond, no, we can't afford that for licensing.
Mhm.
I mean, probably
Bondman.
not.
But they do give him a bow tie after they name him
Which
Bond.
is cute.
It's so
Yeah,
cute.
bow ties are cool.
And train him to eat food and poop in a litter box, which is a little
Yeah.
disturbing because he's the size of the litter box. That thing's got to get changed like 100 times a day.
That's a pee pad.
But it's in a box.
Yeah, it's a pee
It's
pad.
in a tray.
Yeah, it's a thing. I've seen it before.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I've seen the ones which it's like fake grass for dogs. Everything sees through. But
yeah, it's
anyway,
for training usually.
Yor comes in, Lloyd eventually behind her, sees that Anya, through all this training, has fallen asleep with her dog. Even though she was supposed to be studying, she just fell asleep and ended up looking cute. For 5 minutes, you just think, what a normal family.
Mm-hmm.
It is the most perfect little scene ever.
When is it that we get it might be in the ending, but at some point we get the little animation of watching your like cut vegetables for soup.
Yes, like
it's
that's the end credits,
Uh-huh.
and it is so beautiful. Like I love everything in the end credits because it just shows them as they are, both as a pretend family. Anya probably doing the least pretending, and you can see flashes of who they really are.
Yeah, if you outside of their work lives, like these are who these people are during their downtime, and it is probably my favorite thing to see. And I think I know where you're going, Nick. With her cutting the food and such for the vegetables or for the soup, like they make it a point that she does not know how to cook, but she could prepare really well.
Mm-hmm. And like, okay, I think we're kind of at the end of it, and like, here's part of my note, which is basically just like, I don't know if you're needed to be an assassin, right? Like, I think there's a version of this show where she is just like a karate champ, just as a matter of fact, but like, you know, or like formerly karate champ, like the kind of thing where it's just like, yeah, no, I am good at violence, but that is not necessarily a part of my everyday life now. And I think the show would otherwise be like exactly the same. Because at least from the episodes that we watched here, like, you know, we said at the start, the show does such a good thing of being the like James Bond, but Marx Brothers, right? Or Man from U.N.C.L.E., whatever. And I think that there's a certain symmetry that I think this show is implying, because, Twilight has his mission and the secrets that he's keeping from Yor and Anya, but Anya knows about them. So I feel like the implied symmetry would be like, Yor has her mission that she's keeping secret from Twilight and Anya, but Anya knows about. And then there's Anya in the middle, sort of like thinking they're both so cool and sort of smacking their two missions off of each other. But from what I've seen here, like, Yor isn't actually written with that symmetry. Like, the fact that she is an assassin is just for goofs of this person who doesn't know what soccer is incredibly competent at violence. She can send a man pinball mode. And, like, I love that gag, but it seems like, I don't know. I feel like the character, the show is set up to have, like, a symmetry where, like, a Mr. and Mrs. Smith thing. Like, if we got an episode where we were, like, following her true secret assassin life that she's keeping secret from everyone, and that's getting upset, I imagine an episode like that happens, but hers doesn't seem to be as central to the show overall as Twilight's mission and premise is. Like, this is really a show about Twilight dealing with everyone in his fake family is goofy, and Assassin is just Yor's goofiness in a weird way,
If I may.
Yeah.
So, I won't say it happens this season. I'm assuming because of how things play out in the manga, it will probably be this coming season. But there is definitely more to Yor. And I believe they kind of, if I remember correctly, in episode 2, they establish she is she's committing these assassins, not just because people need to die, but she's killing those that would do harm to the country. And she wants there to be peace, much like Lloyd. So they are operating in kind of, as you put it, the reason I made the gag title of Mr. and Mrs. Forger, they are absolutely living those double lives, trying to accomplish more or less the same thing. And I feel she has to have this, because otherwise you have two out of 3 characters that are hiding who they really are, or have at least very big secrets from everyone else. And without that, I worry that the person in the middle would lose interest to the audience. Whereas if all 3, then again, you have that option to play around with them, show them in their elements. Yes, one took longer to get to than the other. I have my own personal feelings about it. I think it should have been done a lot sooner. I also kind of understand why they did it, but I definitely think, to your point, it should have been sooner. But I think it has to be this mix the way they are, because I don't think a show where Yor is just I don't want to say the straight character because that's Lloyd, but if she is just the character without anything to hide, I don't think that it works as well.
Well, yeah, I think she does still need to hide it, because the whole, like, that is the sort of, power dynamic of the family, is the fact that Anya has this, like, knows full well what everyone else is keeping secret from everyone. And, like, that is what gives her the, like, almost fourth wall breaking ability to be the Marx Brother-esque characters, because she has this unnatural knowledge. But, like, there is, like, what Twilight is working for, and the fact that he is a spy, and the fact that he has these talents, has such, like, wider repercussions to sort of the show and the setting of the show as a whole. Whereas so far, like, Yor is an assassin, so she has this, she is competent at violence, but we haven't seen the assassinations do everything. We haven't seen the existence of some sort of Assassin's Guild, you know, haven't seen it obviously reflected somewhere. I would bet that it's in there somewhere, but like not to the extent that Twilight's spyness is, you know, and that's the thing when you have like when you say the middle character, I think Anya is actually the middle character because she has this telepathy, but she is the most honest character. She is lying about the least because she is just a little kid. So if you look at her,
she's the most like normal person.
Right. So when you look at her as like the middle, then the symmetry is between Twilight and Yor, and I think that they are not equally yoked in this marriage, I guess is what I'm getting to. Like
You're not wrong.
I don't think it's really a problem. It's just a little thing that it's just like I'm waiting for the Yor shoe to drop, but then every time I've seen her, she's just been like so just she every time I've seen her, she's just been a normie who's competent at violence, and I'm like, so why are we setting it up like she's some big thing because we're not doing anything with it? And it's just like you know, it's me expecting something and waiting for something, and that I am never not thinking about when is that shoe going to drop. So I know that's a me problem, but like
I'm not going to say it's just a you problem because, like I said, when I was reading it, what I've read up to, they're just kind of starting. There's more past what I've read too. I'll say that. So I'm not through the whole thing, or I'm not completely caught up. But where I'm at right now, like they're just starting to kind of touch on Yor and her assassination group, sect, guild, good fun times, whatever. And I feel like it should have been there because I do agree. It's like this has absolutely been focused on Lloyd's mission. Sure, Yor doesn't have a mission, and I agree with you. It's like I feel like she needs more. It's a cover for her, sure, and maybe in my mind, like that, I guess that's the logic of why we spent less time earlier overall focusing on Yor than Lloyd, than his operation, because, like you said, that's what's critical to world peace. Sure. Keep on saying Yor also has that, but we get a lot of tell don't show.
Yeah, and like I could actually see it working if it's like season 1 is like Twilight side, season 2 is going to be more from your side of like what the driving plot is, you know, the sort of overriding of the season. And that could be cool. And, you know, so then of course we're not going to see that in, you know, 4 episodes from the first season. So it's like I said, she's a good character. After watching these 4 episodes, I drew your fan art already. So like, I love the character. I'm not upset that she's here. I'm just like, yeah, it's just that little nagging thing about like, oh, there could be doing a lot more with her that's just not there. I love what they are doing, but it's just like, why did you do this if you're not going to do anything with it? But like, maybe they will. I guess there's still room that they could, and I'm just not seeing it yet.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm not trying to say, well, but no, I agree with you. It's just, I guess I'm saying like, here's the fact of it, but I agree. They definitely should have had her. And let me tell you, I love, you talk about your fan art. I have tried. I have characters I've designed. I'm like, I wonder if I could take aspects of that costume because I just love it. I love how it moves, which kind of wants me to immediately segue us into the intro discussions, and I guess the outros as well. Because
yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna hit the button because I think we're fully in final thoughts now.
Yeah,
getting there.
I'm gonna spearhead this discussion with, because I think we've all touched on and agreed, all 4 of these are bangers in their own right. These are great.
They're good.
They all do something different. Most of them are chill. The very first intro is a little more high octane, but it's still playful, and I love it.
Like, I'm almost surprised that they did not go for a more like diamonds are forever, tomorrow never dies kind of belter pastiche. Because they are so much leaning into like, hey, remember James Bond? We're making fun of that.
I get you, and I agree. I'm surprised they didn't. I'm still glad they did not.
Yeah, no, what we have here is fantastic. Hey, how are we gonna rank these? Because we did have 2 different openings, right?
They both get ranked.
I was going to say, I propose they both get ranked separately or individually, as it were.
Okay.
But I want to touch. I love the opening of the first opening slightly better, just because it really does capture like Anya's side of things, and then goes from that like this very childish animation style to full on traditional anime style, and you have Lloyd and you see Yor, and they're doing their thing, and they're doing it so well.
I love a show full of competent characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that the other three, the other opening and then the other two EDs, are just so calm and chill and happy.
I will let you know. Prior to this, I did listen to the top 5 songs that we have currently ranked.
Okay.
To see where my placement would be.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think we would be listing the end credits, so I would have to consider that. I don't think
we need to list the end credits.
Just no. Oh, yeah, I just meant the two opening.
Although I genuinely, personally, like the end credits more than the beginning credits.
Yeah, fair. Same.
Yeah,
they're good.
Just a little bit, but they're all pretty good.
I like Chuck. I like opening 2 or 1 over opening 2. Opening 1, I would put at number 4.
Ooh, beating out Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhoods again.
Yep.
I respect that.
Number 2, I would put at 6.
Beating out, well, it was Neo Getter versus Sin Getter, but now it is beating out Ghost in the Shell Inner Universe.
Yeah. I mean, I can agree with that.
All right. Yeah, that's not bad. They're real good.
And I love, don't get me wrong, I love both. I love the difference between the two openings is like marginal for me. They're both so good. They're so well animated. They just tell such good stories.
I have some trivia stuff if people are interested.
Do it. I am very interested.
First, regarding the X in the title name of the show, because it's Spy with a little X in the middle before Family.
Mm-hmm.
The initial draft was given a working title of Spy Family, written in Japanese, and when discussing the final name, Endo came up with over 100 options, but they ultimately decided to use the same title, but in English, and with a cross in between, influenced by Hunter x Hunter, which I kind of like, because they do consider that sort of X like crossover sort of thing, and so you have the spy stuff and the family stuff like intersecting, and I think that works pretty well.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it pronounced like, or maybe not for spy cross family, but like for video games, they usually pronounce it as a cross.
Yeah. Operation Strix. Strix is a genus of owls lacking ear tufts. And the Strix in the mythology of classic antiquity was a bird of ill omen, the product of metamorphosis that fed on human flesh and blood.
Oh no.
It also referred to witches and related malevolent folkloric beings.
Oh no.
Which, if you're familiar with Strixhaven, is also relevant there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about it.
Also, hey, you want to know what kind of dog Bond is?
Yeah.
Actually, yes. That's the only one of everything so far I don't know.
He's a Great Pyrenees, also known as a Pyrenean mountain dog, a French breed of livestock guardian dog, protecting flocks from predation by wolves and bears.
That part is I should have known that my sister has one.
Oh, nice.
That checks out. That is a great dog.
They're one of those.
I have never seen one of them.
Big bear dogs.
At least I don't think I have.
Sister's dog head is taller than the top of her table.
Yeah, they get real big.
Yes.
So Bob, you now need to call that dog Bond.
His name is Rolly.
Is he Polly?
Sometimes.
I also have 2 pictures to share with you, because regarding the movie coming out at the end of this year, Spy Family Code White, in July it was announced that the movie was going to have a collaboration with Street Fighter VI. And they revealed an illustration drawn by Capcom's illustrator and designer, Chisato Mita. So I'm going to drop that in the chat, and Nick can put it up in the recording.
I want that fight. I need that fight.
Well, you put it in this chat.
Oh, yeah,
Pretty
sorry.
cool.
It's just easiest for me to have those two have it open at the same time.
Yep.
And they also announced another collaboration project with the movie Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. A parody poster illustration in which the main characters of the anime replace the Mission Impossible cast, and a highlight video for the Mission Impossible movie narrated by the anime voice actors of The Forgers were released along with the announcement.
Yes!
So you can watch basically like a trailer for Mission Impossible, and then it has them like talking over it.
The puppy looks so good.
Well,
Oh, that's such a better poster than what Mission Impossible deserves.
yeah, there's a dog on it.
Yes! Also, there's a Yor and an Anya.
Yeah.
The handler's hat is so wide.
I know,
Here's the
she's
perfect
like
hat.
reverse. She's like player 2 Carmen Sandiego. It's great.
Oh yeah.
Because she's got the red hair
Yo.
and the dark clothes.
This has been bugging me for over a year now. And now I know where I know this look.
And that's all my
Like, I can't
extra
tell-
information.
I can't tell you how many times I've sat there like, where have I seen this look before?
Oh wait, they didn't let the dog hold a knife. This is knife erasure.
Hey, this isn't D-Dog. Okay.
Oh, I guess.
He's not
a good boy, Nick.
a military dog. Like, he is, but he's not really. Like, he didn't succeed.
Good boys
being a
can
military
have
dog.
knives.
He's a good dog.
Okay, but yeah,
Oh, I didn't know about this. I gotta go hunt this poster down.
what else do we have in terms of final thoughts?
I like
Bob?
this show. I'm going to watch all of it.
Yeah, Bob, what about you?
I thought this show was not what I was thinking it was going to be, because I agreed. I thought it was going to be a more serious show. I get in, and it's serious art. Then they talk about a toupee, and I kind of let that slide, like, that's weird, but maybe it makes sense, because they have an explanation. Then he had his reaction about having a kid in 7 days. That's when I realized I'm having a debate. Is it a comedy that has serious notes, or a serious show that has comedy notes? And I'm actually leaning more towards the latter. But sometimes it's like a hard duality, like, oh, this
Like
is serious action. Oh, this is serious, and then York kicks him and he hits 3 walls.
So it's like a dramatic comedy in that it's a comedy first, but like
Correct.
heavy on the drama. Yeah, I think
Other
that
way
covers
around.
it.
For me, it's drama with a lot of drama. With
So a
comedy.
comedic drama.
Correct. With Anya kind of carrying the comedy chops.
Hmm.
So it's like the early Marx Brothers movies when Zeppo was still around, and then he left because what is it? It was like every time he's on screen, it's not a comedy beat a minute. He's a serious one. So eventually they got rid of him, so it was a comedy beat a minute.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I like the show. I thought that they found a correct balance. You're a side who I kind of wasn't so much 50-50 on their relationship. I thought it was more focused on the mission itself. And I could see how Yor could be utilized to help with that mission in its own way.
Hmm.
So,
I know.
yeah.
Yeah, I definitely
I
had
know,
a fun.
imagine. Go
Fun. No, you.
No,
No.
do it.
No.
I'll do
Fine.
it.
I definitely had
Yeah.
fun watching it, and like it was fun to watch, and it did make me laugh like several times, which is always good. And I'm curious to see more of it because it is just like, here's this premise, and then we're just gonna put these people in situations and let them be ridiculous.
I just now imagine, the titles for the live action Spy Family movie with Lloyd played by Zeppo Marx and the role of Anya as portrayed by Groucho.
Yeah, that's. I mean, listen, we know Netflix is going to bring us a live action adaptation at some point.
Oh,
So we just
I'm
need
gonna cry.
to get Ted Turner on board, and we can have the holograms of Zeppo and Groucho. Oh wait, okay, Harpo could be the dog because he doesn't speak. And Chico is Frankie. All right, we got it.
Yeah. Mission accomplished.
Yeah, I'm also like, I knew that the show was like more a comedy than anything else, but like I said, my expectation was that it was going to be, you know, anime comedy, which is Waka Waka, but then I get in there and it's just like, oh no, you're actually doing like a smart like parody of, you know, classic spy show. So like I think, you know, the fact that it does go like serious drama at some point, and like it's like in that very first episode, you know, the opening was reminding me of Standalone Complex, because we're looking at, you know, a guy having an important phone call on the highway, and then, you know, he gets assassinated, and then there's a group and whatever, and I'm just like, right, it is serious enough so that way the comedy is, you both have like the comedy as like a juxtaposition, and so it makes for an sort of it gives the contrast weight, but also your world is now solid enough that you can make jokes off of it rather than trying to be just, you know, a free-floating miasma of Waka Waka jokes, you know? So I've been waiting to do this episode, both A, to talk about it with y'all, but also B, I didn't want to watch anymore until we talked about it to not spoil myself outside of these episodes, so I'm excited to go watch more of this show.
I was actually really prepared when we started recording for Joe or yourself to ask me, so why did we watch this? And honestly, Nick, your summation of how this approaches and handles comedy is exactly why I put it on here. Also for the fact that, you know, we've had a lot of kind of dramatic stuff, or at least definitely more dramatically. I thought, you know, a good little funny palate cleanser would be useful.
Serious giant robot show.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was actually thinking when we sat down, like, we haven't had like something that is comedy first on this show yet. Like, there is like maybe a Gretsuko, but that one was also like too realistically well written in terms of like office drama and like relationship kind of stuff. So like there is nothing here that is like comedy, that is like anime comedy. It is all stuff that is like based on something more dramatic, and then it has comedy elements. So like, you know, I'm really glad that this feels more like all of that. Like, this makes sense to be on this list now, even if it is sort of like pitched as comedy first. It is, you know, it is easier to laugh at than normal anime comedy, which, listen, we can talk about Cromartie High School at some point in season 2, I guess, but that'll be a conversation for another day, I guess.
In summation, yes, I do plan on continuing this.
Cool.
Yay. So what I'm hearing is this show is good from start to finish.
Well, we'll find out when we watch
At least
it from
4
start
episodes.
to finish.
I was just referring to the bookending of the OP and the ED were so good.
That's true. And it had good dogs and good dog voice acting.
By the way, that's what I went and switched between the English and Japanese versions for, because I wanted to see if Bond just goes woof in both, and he does, and it's great.
Yes. So, the time is nigh.
Do we have any? Okay, when we were talking about Project Apple, was there a horse that flashed across the screen, and is that enough to go on the horse ranking?
Good question.
So hear me out. She rode Dogford Brimley, now known as Bond.
She does ride Bond.
She does ride Bond.
Ooh.
I mean, we're looking at. I mean, I guess if Haruko's Vespa can be on horse rankings, then Bond could be.
That is true. Bond could be there as well.
And does this not make him the best horse?
No, I would put him above the Vespa.
Okay, that makes him our new number 3, under Kokuo and Onyx.
I will always love Onyx. That's going to be a hard one for me to.
It's going to be a hard one to unseat. You love Onyx.
I do.
The
He
species
can operate an elevator.
The species of the test subjects varied from dogs, owls, dolphins, and sheep.
Oh.
Ooh, bomb sheep. Worst of all bombs. And sheep.
I see you have not played Worms Armageddon.
I've played Worms.
I was gonna say, I can demonstrably tell you he has.
Well, then you're right. And no android waifus in this show. Well,
No.
okay.
Oh.
I was gonna say Yor is very bad at
If-
socializing.
Yeah, if not for the fact that she's a human, then yes.
Okay, yeah, all right, fine.
Which means I guess it's time to pick what we're watching next time.
Yeah.
What have we got?
Are you ready for your teasers?
Peace.
Alright, we have Gangsters Cause a Ruckus on a Train and Also Everyone is Immortal.
I forgot about that.
Love it.
We have Can I Offer You a Nice Galnana in this Tryon World line?
Jelnana.
Gelnana. Whatever.
It's actually relevant. I promise you it's relevant.
I'm sure, but I still say GIF instead of GIF. I like hard G's.
You're wrong.
I know that. Mars had got talent. Just a guy who's a hero for a hobby. And mine is the drill that will pierce the heavens.
Yeah, I'm feeling the drill. We're gonna pierce some heavens.
Oh, yeah! Excellent choice. You have chosen Tengen Tapa Gurren Lagann.
Oh
my
boy.
goodness.
Yeah, as long as I don't have to repeat that.
Which means
Oh,
that
no.
us three are going to have a very specific discussion in our thread
Oh my God,
before
you're
we pick
right.
episodes. So look forward to that next time.
Yes, I can't wait to watch 10, 11, 12, 13.
No, it's going to be like 1, 3, and 6.
Maybe.
I mean,
I'm trying to remember when he draws that long sword, but it's
Real early.
It's like
Anyway.
yeah, okay.
Anyway. We'll be back in with some giant robots, but definitely a different flavor of giant robot.
Like
and
strawberry and chocolate?
yeah.
Oh, imagine if you combined them.
Yeah.
Chocolate covered strawberries? Yummy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that does sound good.
We have some upstairs.
Okay.
Anyway. That'll be next time. So look forward to that.
And that'll be next time, and that means we're done for this time. So I'm gonna start the music and say thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Hi, Mr. Doggy.
boy.
Deep in the Weebs is a show by Chuck, Nick, Joe, and Bob. Our theme music is Kawaii Friends by C. 3. You can find our show on YouTube, or subscribe to the audio-only version on iTunes or wherever podcasts are served.
All right, who's got an idea for a stinger?
Stinger? I'm not a wasp.
All right, that'll do it.